vampires for what they've done to me.
The Council of Fear will decide your fate.
Fear.
Join us.
Join us. Join us.
Yes, it's that time. It's what you've all been waiting for. It's the Twilight episode.
For once, they came over to my house. You get to see my cool gamer setup back there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Cohen was asked, "Are you a gamer?" And he said, "Without question."
I have
yes.
filmed many gaming YouTube videos here.
We know.
Many a
We've
YouTube.
seen.
Many a YouTube.
But now you're seeing this side of the camera. This side of the room.
the other side of the pillow.
Yeah. So yes, today we're going to talk about Twilight. My dogs.
Yeah.
Might
Well,
hear
either going to probably
downstairs.
They're
we're
big
doing.
Twilight fans.
Yeah. We watched all 5 movies with Lauren and my sister and a couple of friends.
So I think we're
Last
gonna
time.
do.
We're either going to split it into 2 episodes, one which is the first 3 movies and and then a second one of Breaking Dawn, or we're just going to do one big episode with guests that change spots.
The problem is, I want to talk about them all right now. So I think we're gonna talk about them all now,
Valid.
and then talk about them more
Later.
in the story.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be 2 separate videos or one long video.
Yeah, we can get
Depends on how long
we can get Lauren's opinion, the first 3 movies,
Twilight
and
number
then
1.
Story's opinion,
Twilight
the
number
last
2.
2 movies.
Yeah.
But you don't have to
Generations
just
of Twilight.
stick to the first 3. You can talk about all of
You
them.
can talk about all of them because I want to talk about Breaking Dawn because Breaking Dawn
Dawn.
is
Is your favorite?
interesting.
Yeah.
Breaking Dawn has become
Breaking
our
Dawn
favorite.
Part 1 is
Icky?
Okay.
and Breaking
Icky.
Dawn Part 2 is based.
Yeah.
But even though Breaking Dawn Part 1 is icky, it actually kind of sets up well for Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Well, it gets all the
Part 1.
icky stuff out of the way so that Breaking Dawn Part 2 can be fun. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
We get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Twilight.
She has been telling us to watch Twilight.
Yeah, I have. It's
Constantly.
been very aggressive.
She has been doing a political campaign to get us to watch Twilight, and because we fear her power, we submit it.
But she wants to watch it with us, so we weren't able to do it until now. Thanksgiving break.
Because they
everyone's
needed
home.
a lore X.
We needed a lore expert because Twilight lore is surprisingly complicated. There's
Yes.
a lot of characters, and I would not have been able to keep track of all the vampire
Okay,
factions.
new post iceberg image here of all of the
Don't
different
make me
lores.
make this.
I would say Twilight lore is as deep, if not deeper, than Fear podcast lore,
Twilight lore is wild.
but not as deep as Pittacus lore. Unfortunately, not all of I Am Number 4. Literally just Pittacus lore.
Yeah, of course.
So this is our guest, Lauren. You might have seen
Hi.
her on previous episode,
The Halloween
the
episode.
Halloween, Christmas, January one that I uploaded in January.
And
Oh,
this one's
Halloween.
going to be the Thanksgiving Ween
Yeah. This will
Christmas
probably
New
be
Year's
the last
episode.
one I uploaded in 2021, and you were in the first one I uploaded in 2021.
Hell
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're starting and ending the year right.
Lauren is
with
the
our
inevitable.
favorite Twilight fan. We also have another guest, but we'll
My
see
sister's
her-
story.
Yes, we'll see her later, probably in Kirk's apartment rather than this location.
Or if we want, we could just Photoshop an image of her right here.
That's not in frame. I could not. Your body. The
It is
frame
not in
stops here. I think. So don't gesture that way. It's hard to fit 3 people in the frame. I'm gonna scoot forward so I can hijack
Because you're
the frame.
concerned about the
from you.
frame.
Ooh, monkey brain.
Alright, we need to start talking about the movie.
Speaking
because-
of monkey brain, that's a terrible transition. I
but
can't
it
think of a better
accurately
one.
describes
Jacob is
Twilight.
monkey brain.
Jacob is
Jacob is so
definition
monkey
of-
brain. Okay,
In the
wait.
worst
guess-
cycle.
So wait, let's do this real quick. Team Edward, Team Jacob tangent, aka bullshit marketing scheme. The obvious choice is Edward, not because he's a good person, but because Jacob is a piece of shit.
And also, if you actually watch these movies, it is never once a question for Bella. So
She's always
asking
like-
the question to us
She
is
says
dumb.
it's him. It's always been
It's-
him. And
he
Jacob
literally-
is like, but I don't
But then I'm gonna
consent."
spend another 2 movies fawning over you.
It gets to the point where Bella has to make out with Jacob just to get him to fucking protect her in the middle of the wilderness from a bunch of evil vampires.
No,
Yeah,
it's not even
it's
to protect
bad.
her. It's so that he won't go kill himself.
Right, that's
Yeah,
right.
It's bad. It's really bad.
He says, but what if I kill kill myself.
They make.
If I kill myself,
and-
then I can get her to love me through
And
grief.
it sucks because Jacob just gets worse.
Yeah.
Like he's introduced in the first one, but he's barely in it. which
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't
like
know.
he's
fun
like the
as,
dopey
like, a
best
little,
friend in the
He's a
first
dopey
one.
best friend who
goober.
maybe has a little crush on her, but
But at the same time, he's also like, hey, my dad said gave me $20 to say break up with your boyfriend.
That was
we'll
so-
get
that
to
was
that.
such a
We'll
weird-
get there.
the scene that broke Jack.
The scene that
we
broke
had
Jack.
2 other friends with us as well, Alyssa and Jack. But
Yeah.
Jack was the Twilight denier.
Alyssa was
We
the
broke him.
Jack was the one sitting next to me doing bits for
Jack was
for the
the
first
one-
hour and a half of the
Jack
first
is the one
movie
who would
because it
be
takes
when
some
we
time to get
erect
going.
the statue of Edward and Jacob and Bella. He
We're
will
not
climb
erecting
the
that
statue.
statue.
He'll climb the statue from his wheelchair and spray paint false god across its chest.
But anyway, it's like, but like New Moon, Jacob is so funny. Jacob is the.
Oh no, he's
super
like
character.
basically all he does, like after he gets transformed into a wolfman,
After he gets
all
wounded.
he does is take off his shirt, stand there menacingly, and act like a CW
Do you
character.
bleed?
I know better
You
than
will.
you do about your own life.
Edward, do you bleed?
I know you love
will.
me. I know you love
Wait,
me
do
because
you
you.
bleed? You will would actually work if he said it to Edward because Edward's a vampire. He's
Yeah.
like, do you bleed? You will.
I know you love me because you constantly told me that you don't love me.
Yeah. So it's funny in New Moon, and then in every movie past that, he just gets
It just-
worse and worse.
He
and
also
worse.
gets way more forceful about it.
Yeah, until eventually in the last 2 movies, the Breaking Dawn movies, it's just like, why are you here?
Literally, why is
literally
he even
acts
here
dumb.
anymore? The only person who even slightly likes him is Bella, and I feel like by then he was really getting on her nerves.
Yeah. I
She's
don't,
like, you're this fucking close.
Yeah.
You're this close, son.
yeah.
Nah, there's
I
one
call
scene.
you
There's
Daddy?
one scene that is so satisfying in Breaking Dawn Part 2 that we'll get to. You imprinted on
Can I
my
call
daughter
your dad?
So I guess now we should start from the beginning
Yes.
and go through the arc of how the cinematic experience of watching all 5 Twilight movies in a row
During
is,
the Renaissance.
Yes.
during the
Twilight
Twilight Renaissance.
Yes.
You've gotten us on the hip internet train.
Yes.
This video will get lots of views, I'm
Of
sure.
course.
Of
course.
Imagine if this is the episode that actually does go viral for us.
It goes
should.
viral. It shouldn't.
We're like, wow, this is doing numbers. It's like 200 views.
Yeah. The art. So like first movie, I'm bored. Jack's bored.
I'm pretty bored too.
Until
the baseball
I don't know
scene.
why
Because they're not listening to
I-
me when I say, look at this funny joke.
No.
And they're
I
making
heard the
jokes.
funny jokes
Because
and
we
they
were
were
making our
funny
own
in the
jokes.
moment, but but it was just kind of boring
There-
for the rest of the
so-
movie.
Twilight, the
Every-
original Twilight is something you have to rewatch and be like, okay.
Oh,
It's
so
funny
that's
now.
where that stupid character came from.
Because like there's scenes where he's like, no, it's the fluorescence, and then walks away with his eyes shut. Like,
Oh no! That's another
Do it.
great part of the first Twilight movie before the baseball scene. Is Edward just straight up is gaslighting Bella?
Yeah.
It's awful in context of you're supposed to root for these two to get together.
It's absolutely
But it's
funny.
absolutely amazing in the context of oh my god, fuck this guy.
Well,
He's so
okay,
evil.
It's hilarious in the context of, like,
what you
seeing
think
that he's a
of what you
vampire.
think of when you think of if you haven't seen Twilight, what you think of when you think of Twilight, horny vampire and girl who is also horny for the vampire, and they're both like, but I can't love you, but I want to love you. That's the first movie for like the first hour.
Not even really. It's just like,
It's mostly
I
Edward
trust you.
Bass.
He's like, why the fuck do
Yeah,
you?
Yeah,
it's mostly Bella being incredibly horny for that vussy, and Edward being like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a vampire. You just hit your head. You're hysterical."
That's so funny.
Women be like,
And then eventually she does find out he's a vampire.
And he's
And
like,
then
"Well,
he's
I
like-
guess I have to date,
But it's just-
date you now."
We should say this now. Every one of these movies has a structure of like
it's like a 3-part structure where the first 2 parts are like
Entirely
slow
exposition.
exposition.
third act is all
And
third
third act is
every
batshit.
and none of the movies fail here. Every movie, the third act gets like
Even the
crazy.
weakest movies like deliver in the third act.
Yeah, a little
Part
bit.
1 delivers in the 3rd act.
Uh,
Literally.
Hey.
but just the arc of watching these is like the first one, Jack. somehow we ended up sitting in the room where all the girls were on one side and all the guys were on the
it was
other side,
segregation.
making fun of the movie.
Segregation, yeah.
And for the first like hour and a half of the first one, we're just like not
Damn it, I
interested.
can't see the 1984 book anywhere. Oh well.
Shut up. No props.
No props.
We don't have time for props. Where we're going, we don't have time for props. Just the arc of bored in the first one until the third act where it picks
Because
up.
you guys don't care about the romance.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah.
Like at all, but like if you're a teenage girl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Like you guys are explaining to us like how it doesn't matter how awful these people are. If you're a teenage girl at the time, you're rooting for
I
them.
think you could have appreciated it in the sense that like she goes to biology class and this guy is like, what the fuck?
Oh, well, that's what.
And then she
That,
immediately
he actually
finds
does that
him
gesture.
into her like trying to transfer out of her like fucking biology class because she stinks so fucking bad.
It's not that there was nothing to enjoy. I was bored, and then
I just
and
didn't
then-
appreciate it.
And then the second, I went from bored to like ironically interested in the second movie. The second movie is the most Jacob-centric, which makes it the funniest because
Yeah.
it's before he becomes an absolute cringe-lord.
Well, he's starting to become a cringe lord, but it's still
mid-cringe.
it's still very funny how cringy
The
he
beginning
is
of
at this
Taylor
point.
Lautner's Joker arc. Jacob's Joker arc.
Jacob's
and,
Joker.
And then to
Jacob's
the
incel
so
arc.
like just
And that's also the movie where like I feel like they take the most interesting liberties, where it's like, oh, what if Edward is a force ghost that's haunting Bella that she can only see when she gets insanely traumatized.
no.
She's
And
just fucking insane.
so
She's
Jack-
She's just dead ass losing it.
that was the one where Jack and I could not stop laughing. And then we were in.
because the image of Ghost Edward being like, lie better.
Lie better.
At that point, I was invested. At that point, I was invested.
Because
Oh,
once you get
ironically,
vampire baseball in the first scene.
Oh yeah,
and
the first movie
film,
has vampire baseball, which
Yes.
is as great as it sounds. From there, that movie
It's
it
perfect.
picks
Yeah.
up. There's just slow before that.
Because there's no plot introduced
No.
until that
And then Eclipse.
And then the
happens.
plot immediately gets introduced.
Well, the thing about the first Twilight is, in Midnight Sun, you understand that all of the plot is happening behind the scenes with Edward, because he's getting like visions from Alice, and Alice is like, "You're gonna fucking kill
Oh
her.
yeah,
You're
Edward
gonna
has a
fucking
whole
kill her."
family
And
of
he's like, "Stop
vampires.
telling
This is
me
something
that.
I didn't know.
Stop telling me that." And then like they have like a fucking family dinner discussion. Like they sit at a giant dinner table where they do not eat food because they do not eat.
Midnight
They
Sun
sit-
is the book from Edward's perspective.
Yes. So they all sit at a dinner table
for
and
those
they
not
all
in
have
the know.
they all have a discussion. And Jasper's like, "We should fucking kill her." And then Emmett's like,
That's
"We should
very
fucking
Jasper.
kill her." And then Carlisle's like, "I'm against killing her, but if you're into her, we can kill her." In the best way.
Okay, no. Well, this is a good. Edward has a whole family of
Yeah.
vampires that are all. way
I knew
more
they
interesting
existed.
than
I
Edward.
assumed they were just personality-less blobs,
No,
except for Alice.
Emmett walks in with a bag of eggs.
What?
Emmett's introduction is him with a backwards baseball cap, carrying a not a carton of eggs, a bag of eggs.
What made me invested? The strangest thing happened. I went from being ironically invested after New Moon to like in the third movie I was bored but invested. But something happened.
Yeah.
We watched Breaking
Something
Dawn.
magical.
Something happened, and that was I became actually unironically invested. Not so much in Bella, Edward, Jacob,
Just the
romance,
story as a whole.
but the like.
Vampire politics.
There's
Yeah.
a ton of vampire factions and werewolf factions and like vampire werewolf.
And there's a lot that
politics.
they didn't even put in the movies.
Yeah, no, there's like pretty much all of the side characters are more interesting and unique.
Carlisle is a vampire who has so much self-control that he's able to work like on humans
He's
as
a doctor.
and
He's a
save
vampire
people who are
doctor.
so close to death that the only choice is to turn them into a vampire, and he collects these people.
And brings them into his family of
Yeah.
vegan vampires. Vegan meaning they eat animals
Yeah.
rather
Instead
than
of people.
humans.
I guess I'd technically be vegetarian. Who gives a
I
shit?
don't know. Not
I think
human
the idea of
eaters.
vegan vampire is hilarious.
Yeah.
Is it-
Yeah.
No,
It's
it is.
dumb.
But like,
It's so dumb.
the concept of for Carlisle is so cool, and he is as cool as you would expect.
Yeah, he's very Catholic.
Yeah.
Like you've got this. There's this
Catholicism.
horny love triangle plot in the center, but then everything else
Like, orbiting
around
it
this
is just
world is
incredible.
like actually
Kind of amazing.
interesting world
The
building.
main issues with the Twilight franchise is that the books are told from Bella's perspective, in that she's written as a Mary Sue, and Stephanie Meyer can't write, and she stumbles upon incredible ideas,
And then
and
never
then doesn't
uses
capitalize
them.
on them. So like she has Carlisle, who's this fucking awesome vampire doctor,
And he's just
Fucking
and he's
miracle
just
work.
there to be the good dad.
Yeah, he's just a good
there's
dad.
there's tons of other characters like that are
Like every single one of the
Breaking Dawn
Cullen family
Yeah.
has
Did you know that
has a
Jacob's dad is
backstory
the
to
chief
them.
of, like the tribe chief.
yeah.
Okay.
I remember that plot.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think they may bring it up until like
There's-
the third
No,
one.
they don't bring it up until it's like, oh, I could have been the chief.
There's
if
a shocking
if
amount.
I totally could have been the alpha of the pack
Yeah.
if I wanted to.
There's-
I'm not. It's not because I'm a little bitch baby that Sam would kick my ass.
There's a shocking amount of background info and like extra lore and stuff that nobody ever really talks about. People just talk about Team Edward or Team Jacob or haha funny vampire. But like
Or you imprinted on my
yeah,
daughter.
but there's like good world building
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on there. Actually, I feel like the host kind of not nearly as much, but
Not like to the extent that Twilight was.
Because I don't think she's as comfortable in the sci-fi genre
Yeah.
as she is in the fantasy
But, like, both-
or
Because
paranormal
the
like,
host is
genre.
also like not as
now I'm like, oh, she is a writer with good ideas.
romance.
She just never knows how
Just-
to actually use
But
them.
just every story she writes centers around
She's a
two horny
storyboard
teenagers.
person.
instead
She's
a
of-
good storyboard.
Yeah,
She is an
Not
incredibly
like a-
horny person.
Yeah.
So
Mormon.
the oh yeah, I didn't know that.
There's a
until I
lot.
watched
That's gonna come up a lot.
it. So the cinematic arc of watching these is like, for me anyway, was boredom to ironic enjoyment to like investment and slight interest to like unironic investment. By the last movie, 90% of the
I was
romance
so
stuff
into
is
it.
over, and it's just vampire politic feuding, and I was like
Hell yeah.
unironically like yes.
Yes.
Genuinely, the last movie, almost nothing happens. Almost nothing.
That's true.
Very close to
Well,
nothing.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
we should preface every single movie has the structure of an hour and a half of like build up to a climax.
A huge climax that
there's
kind
bar-
of comes out of nowhere.
There's barely even first arcs and first stacks and second acts in a lot of them. There's just the first hour and a half, the first hour to an hour and a half, and then the last 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, I think New Moon has a good.
New Moon has.
New Moon has the
solid
clearest
first
delineation
Yeah.
because it's the first act is Bella with Edward, and then the second act
it's
is
Bella. It gets left by Edward. Bella goes to Jacob, and then
second act. And then third act,
act,
we move to a
fucking
completely
insane.
different storyline that is relevant to the series as a whole, but not relevant to anything that happened in the second
Absolutely
act.
not, no.
New Moon's structures. New Moon is the funny one.
yeah.
Let's go through them each individually now.
I think Twilight is my favorite, but only because it's rewatchable. Like
The first one?
honestly,
Yeah.
it's so rewatchable.
I can totally
kinda
see
believe
that.
you, yeah.
Also, it has the classic like. This movie was made by someone who read the books religiously kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Because Catherine Hardwicke did read the books religiously.
Really?
And she was like in love with like all of it. So like all of the little details from the books are
a lot of little
included.
details.
And it's so
There's like
fun.
so many. Like I didn't even know that there's like an entire cast of human best friends.
Oh yeah,
in
the
that.
cast of Human Best
One of
Friends.
whom is
like,
played by
get-
Anna Kendrick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anna fucking Kendrick. And they get like so much personalization because
They
the,
do get
the,
Like
the
there's like
director
there's
cares.
Mike who's the one who's like the cool one, kind of crushing.
No, he's
not
not.
cool.
He is not
He's
cool.
not
He's
cool.
kind of crushing
He's
on
the
Bella.
athlete who's crushing on Bella.
They
then
all
there's
have a crush on Bella.
then there's Josh who's like the weird one.
Yeah.
Not
You mean
Josh.
Eric?
Eric. I don't know. Like
Eric?
They don't get as much characterization as it sounds like they
as
do.
you can
But
tell
they're
by
just-
the fact that I couldn't remember.
But you
which-
can
what
tell
his
them
name
apart,
was.
and they're likable.
Yeah.
So they give off the vibe, and it's funny because when Bella starts hanging out with Edward obsessively, there's never a scene where they're like, "You should break up with." They just seem kind of like.
No, there's like several.
No,
like,
there's
there are
several
yeah.
little moments where it's like, "Hey, Bella, are you okay?"
But they never. But
No,
they
there's
never.
like
but they-
several like shots,
Yeah.
like when she gets picked up after being assaulted
Oh,
or
God.
nearly assaulted, where her friends are like,
but there's.
Do
"You
you
get
need
laid
to-
tonight? You getting laid?" And
But
then
the-
like there's another scene where like they're talking in like the cafeteria, and it pans over to her friends, and they're all like,
Well, but there's never a moment where her friends like have a like kick her out of the group or any like
No.
strong conflict. They give off the vibe that they're just living their own normal high schooler lives, and they're just like, I don't know what's going on with Bella, but she's cool when she's in our movie.
Yeah.
When she's in the other movie.
When she's alive and also participating.
Yeah.
Here comes the dog.
Here comes doggo number 1. I will say though, the original Twilight is probably the worst like made from a cinematography. Maybe I don't.
I like it.
I
I
don't
think
know if
it's
that's
charming.
true. But it's got this weird dark filter over everything.
It's blue, and
I
the
kinda-
second one is orange, and then the rest don't have a filter, which
Yeah.
I think is a
Yeah.
mistake.
Some scenes, some scenes.
It works in some scenes, and
Yeah.
others it doesn't.
Some
Yeah.
scenes are very much shot like music. Like this movie feels like it. Did Catherine Hardwicke make music videos ever?
No.
Because it has some music.
She made like
video
indie
vibes.
films, which makes sense. I
That
like
also
indie
makes
films.
sense. It has.
She also made that werewolf movie.
The original Twilight has a weirdly low budget aesthetic compared to the rest.
Yeah, even though it did not have a low budget.
Yeah, you would
36
think it would when you see the shot of Edward running with Bella on his back through the forest. And
Hold on tight,
he's got like
Spider
stretchy
Monkey.
crooked man legs, and he's hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
God, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But they did put like all of their money into like the vampire baseball scene or like the penultimate
Oh,
fight.
that's so great.
About maybe an hour and a half into the movie, the Cullen family takes Bella to play baseball with them.
And that's where the plot kicks in.
That's literally a pack of like not vegan vampires shows up, a conflict arises, they realize the Cullens are protecting a human, and they're like, we're gonna kill her.
Fresh
Because
meat.
one of them, they don't like nearly explain this enough, but one of them is a tracker,
Yeah.
and his whole thing is that he loves to hunt, like he likes the thrill of
Right.
the chase, and
Yeah.
the fact that Edward protects her
Means
and
it's
is
the
like,
ultimate
my
chase. He
girl,
said
and
that
he's
one
like,
time.
holy shit,
Yeah.
this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So
No,
he goes like
it's
fucking
funny-
wild.
it's funny-
Well, we talked about how every villain looked like every villain had like an establishing shot, and then
Yeah.
and then James comes in,
That's
who's
the-
the villain, who's
the
the
main
big bad of this movie, and we're like, oh look, it's the boring one.
Yeah, that's what I
And
said.
they
I was-
immediately go, is that the one that's gonna
no,
be
I said that. I was
unimportant?
Like, I was like, that's the like lame white one.
And I was like,
And
no,
it was like,
that's
nope,
literally
that's
the main.
I'm like,
head
that's the weak, pathetic one. And she's like, nope, that's the strong one. And I'm like, interesting. Okay.
Well, because they're having
Well-
they're having the black one who wasn't black in the books because black people don't exist in Mormonism.
Laurent, that character, was he black in the books or was he unspecified?
It was unspecified.
Yeah.
But like black people, regardless, black vampires don't exist because
Yeah,
their
he's
skin
one-
gets
he's one-
immediately bleached white
That apparently-
because
is that
in the Mormon belief, black people's souls become white when they go to heaven.
interesting?
Yeah,
Because
Stephanie
souls
Meyer
have a
said
color.
that she didn't think black people would be vampires because she thought that the venom would bleach them.
That's okay.
Wild.
And Catherine Hardwicke in the first film, who was extremely based for being like, no, you need to have like black people and indigenous people. And Stephanie Meyer was like, but why? I don't wanna.
I mean, they
that's how
have
we get
indigenous
Laurent.
people.
We'll get to
There it
that.
I think that was
Well,
a fight as well. She had to fight for that.
Were they originally going to be white people? I don't know.
I'm
if
sure they
that's-
were originally going to be like less like actual
Characters.
indigenous peoples. Yeah.
Oof.
But no,
We'll get to that in the second
okay.
book because that's where it's
Because
much
Catherine
more
Hardwicke is
important.
it's
she has a thing of like prior like she
Mm-hmm.
represents like smaller minority groups in film.
It's really
Yeah.
telling. It's really telling though. Like, I wish they utilized Laurent more, the black vampire, because
Yeah,
he's
cool.
he's easily the coolest of that lineup of
Because
three.
he
and
isn't really actually a villain. He's just kind of like, look, I'm passing through. I just want to stick to my own. But these assholes, James and Victoria, are constantly causing trouble for us.
He's been a vampire for like 300
Yes.
years,
He's-
and then James and Victoria are like less than 100 years
He's
old.
easily the coolest of those three, but he's the one that gets shafted the
And he,
hardest.
he picks them up on the way because they're nomadic. Because all
okay.
vampires are
Okay.
nomadic. Like
Except the cool. Well, the
Well, the
Cullens
Cullens
are.
are nomadic. It's
Yeah.
just that they don't move around as
They
much.
they move to places, pretend
fact
they're
that the
high
Cullens-
schoolers, so they can stay in
the
those
fact
places.
that Cullens like have a permanent home is weird.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's why they're hated so much.
Because they're like They're
weirdos.
bougie vampires.
They're bougie vampires, yeah.
Which is weird because all vampires are kind of bougie.
Yeah. I love the fact that they just go to high school. Like, imagine if you were like 300 years old and you just go to high school because you look like a
not in a creepy way, except for Edward, but like just in a way where it's like I'm so bored. I want to just go down to the high school and fuck with some children
because
I want to hear the gossip.
Yeah. That's what
hot goss.
That would be. That's what I would do if I looked like a 17-year-old for 100 years.
Hang out at the mall every day.
Yeah.
Well, because they're not gonna get a liquor's license because they're gonna be like, you're a fucking 17-year-old, and you're like, I can't even say you're wrong because I am physically a 17-year-old.
How long have you been 17?
A while.
A while. The Bella Edward scenes are very funny.
Oh, unintentionally, but very funny.
And then in the third act, it picks up because vampire baseball, and then James is chasing them, and there's a fight scene. The action choreography is generally good. I would say there's only one bad fight, and it's in Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yeah.
Just because it's not well lit.
It's not well lit,
can't
and
tell
it's
what's happening.
edited to shit.
Yeah.
It is over-edited.
They wasted their
probably because they needed to
budget.
cut around a lot of the special effects.
They wasted their Wolf budget earlier in the film, and then they were just like, okay,
they wasted the Wolf budget on that shot.
Oh God,
we'll get to it.
New Moon now.
I think that's about everything in Twilight that you want to talk about.
I think that also the thing about Twilight is it's like a cool like, oh, it ends and they're in love and they're like happily ever after. But if you like read the books, or like if you watch New Moon and you rewatch Twilight, you know that he's thinking like, okay, I'll take you to prom. I'm gonna fucking break up with you right after.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm
gonna fucking dump you.
Also, we forgot to mention the great scene of when they're at prom. Jacob comes up Jacob comes up and he's like, hey, so my dad paid me $20 to tell you to break up with your boyfriend, and also that we'll be watching you. Because earlier in the movie, he would told this whole story about the bloodsuckers and the Coatl tribe.
The vampire versus werewolf.
What's the name?
Quiet. Yeah.
We're not going to say it anymore.
We're not good.
It's the tribe.
The werewolf tribe.
It's the Native American tribe in the movie
Which is an actual
they're all
tribe.
werewolves.
Which is an actual
That
tribe.
Is worse. Why didn't they
so
just make
much
up
worse.
a tribe name?
Because Stephanie Meyer is awful.
Stephanie Meyer is a bad person.
Stephanie Meyer, I'm pretty sure she had the dream about Edward and Bella in the meadow, and then she wrote the whole book around that.
It came to me in a dream.
And then she wrote everything around that, and she had to find. I think she literally chose Forks, Washington, because it's literally called the wettest place in the continental U.S. Because there's literally no cloudy days. And that's why she chose it, because it's triangulated to be super cloudy all the time.
And that's why the vampires.
And that's why the vampires
Which
are
is
there.
funny that
And
matters
then she was
so much. Then
you know who's nearby? Native Americans.
Native Americans.
It's funny that matters so much to them, because when they go in the
then they
sun,
just move,
their
right?
face a glitter.
Yeah.
Their face a shiny.
Shiny.
Which is
There's also fully Egyptian vampires.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem.
Yeah.
It's just because of the way that they are.
Yeah.
The Cullens just like brooding.
Yeah.
They really do. It's kind of funny. The Cullen family's great. I love them. I love that they have a wall of graduation caps from all the fake high schools they've attended, and I love that in the third movie, where the dad,
the dad and mom come by,
where Bella's parents come by, he's like, what is this wall of graduation?
Her dad is a cop.
Yeah.
He's the chief of police, and he walks up the stairs and he sees this mosaic of 400 graduation
Her
caps.
dad is the most based character. He's just
aside from Carlisle.
He's more based than Carlisle.
Charlie is so based, and he cares genuinely about the Native American population that he's watching over.
Yeah, despite being a cop, he is one of the most based characters.
ACAB except for Charlie's.
Except for Charlie.
And he gets the absolute worst deal of all.
Because Bella is just
Bella
sorry,
is
I'm never home because I'm with Edward.
Trying to get
I want that pussy, and I want to become a vampire. So, oops! I guess I'm never gonna see you again, Dad. Once I graduate.
By the end of the first one, she's like, "Okay, you can just murder me at prom, and we'll tell Dad."
She's literally already begging to be turned into a vampire.
She's that horny. Which I
Well, like even though you could read into it as her being groomed and gaslit into this decision,
Yeah.
I do kind of like that she is the one that wants it and is constantly trying to become a vampire, and it's like Edward who is like moving the goalpost constantly.
Yes.
This isn't something.
Edward really doesn't want to turn
In
her
the,
into a vampire.
in the narrative that Stephanie Meyer wrote, regardless of whether that's how it reads or not, this is Bella was not forced into this decision. It is something that she wanted to do since the beginning.
Yeah, Edward really doesn't want to turn her into a vampire.
Because he's Catholic.
Because he's Catholic.
Yes, he also doesn't want to have sex with her until marriage.
Because he's Catholic.
Is an
Catholic,
annoyingly
and
dragged
also-
out plot point.
Also, he's afraid he's gonna break her.
Oh yeah, that's the interesting
He
thing
thinks
that
he's
they
really
don't
good at sex,
explore
even
that
though
much.
he's
The
100
Colons are all
like,
Catholic.
10-year-old virgin. He's like, I'm gonna be so good at sex, you're gonna die. No.
No.
Vampire Dommy Mommy.
Alright, I think
I think that's a good note to leave out the first movie
New
on.
Moon time.
New Moon
time. New Moon time.
So remember how in the last movie it ends with Edward and Bella together, and the plan is that Bella's going to become a vampire, like when she graduates. So now the plan, now the plan is bye.
Yeah, Edward just leaves.
Edward says-
Edward's like, I'm out of here. The Colons are leaving. Sorry. And then Bella gets depressed. And then Bella becomes an adrenaline junkie because every time that she has an adrenaline rush, she sees a hallucination of Edward telling her, stop, don't do that.
She also has constant night terrors.
Yeah.
She like screams bloody murder.
The
every
adrenaline
time.
junkie stuff is
Hilarious.
amazing. That's when
Yes.
Jack and I were getting like, it's like, oh my god, adrenaline junkie Bella. It's so funny. It started, I think Jack was interested.
And they always find a way to ramp up the insanity of her adrenaline.
Yeah, she's like
junkiness.
jumping off cliffs.
Like it
first
starts
thing she
off. It
does-
starts with her going up to a random stranger
And jumping on the back of his motorcycle. And
then
While her friend Anna Kendrick is just
Well,
watching,
Anna
like,
Kendrick
what the
is
fuck
like,
are you
what the
doing?
And then when she gets back, she's like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?"
Exclusively. She doesn't like music anymore. And then she brings a bunch of like scrap metal dirt bikes to Jacob, and she's
I
like,
don't
"Hey,
remember that.
hey, you're my mechanic best friend, and this is the premise of us
Is this-
hanging out together." So like he fixes up the dirt bikes, and then
Is this before or after he shaves the
Oh
long
yeah,
hair?
that's when he gets.
No.
That's when he gets the.
while
she
he's
gets
still
the
a
hit
nice
on her head.
guy, while he's still nice and not roided
Nice
up,
guy.
he's not roided yet.
He's just a fine best friend.
When he's
Yeah.
like
Just a
fun
nice
and
best
cool, and like also like 16, they're like chilling,
He's younger
fixing
than
up
her, which is an
bikes.
interesting detail.
Yeah.
fixing up like these dirt bikes, and she's like, "Yeah, this is for my."
Oh yeah, there's a
adrenaline
bunch of
junkie."
jokes. There's a bunch of really bad jokes
Oh,
about
yeah,
her
New
Moon.
being
New
a
Moon.
cougar now because
New
she's
Moon,
18.
New Moon is like obsessed with her age in
Because
a weird
Bella's
way.
obsessed with her
because
age.
Bella's obsessed with her
Yeah.
age and being too old for Edward.
Because
even
she's
though
18 now, and he's
109.
17,
1918.
17.
Edward's been 17 since 1918.
Yeah, he literally died because of the Spanish flu.
Full circle.
Oh.
Oh yeah, pandemic moment.
Yeah.
But so at
So
wow.
Oh,
All right,
during
you know
the
what you
dirt
guys
bikes-
can talk.
Oh, yeah,
during the
dirt
dirt
bikes.
bikes,
The dirt bikes is kind of the big turning point after Edward leaves because that's
because
when.
she's able to like focus on something and like have someone that she can talk to.
And
Yeah,
that's also
Jacob
when
becomes
Jacob
her.
starts acting more wolfish.
Well, he like there's like this subplot of like there's like a group of Native American people in his tribe that are getting
Okay, let's
different.
get into it right now because this is going to be a sort of Damocles hanging over the whole review.
It is racist.
It's extremely racist. It is
Yeah.
a group of Native Americans that have magical wolf powers that make them hyper violent to each other and like share a same mental brain wavelength, and they always have to be shirtless and super ripped.
because they're very like physically hot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
And also like they often shed their clothes when they transform.
And once Jacob joins the wolf,
And they only
Shaves his head.
transform when in the presence of the white man. I mean the pale-faced ones.
the vampire.
Old
Oh
ones.
god, is this the one where they have the?
The pale faces.
No,
is
it's
humans.
Eclipse where they have the awful flashbacks.
Yeah.
to,
Which
like,
almost
a
makes it
native
feel
tribe
like-
being
which
destroyed
almost makes
by
it feel like this
vampire
was-
invaders.
Which almost makes it feel like the werewolves are supposed to be a metaphor for colonialism.
Like the whole
They're
thing-
absolutely not.
The whole thing
but
is
it
not.
almost
It's just-
goes there.
It's just she's like, ooh, the
pale faces are humans, and the cold ones are vampires.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Regardless-
don't remember either of those terms.
Regardless, it's almost a metaphor for colonialism, but not quite.
definitely
It's
not.
just Stephanie Meyer.
It's
being
just
racist.
Stephanie Meyer being
Sorry.
racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at some point in the second movie, Jacob shaves his awful
His awful, bad,
his
kind
awful,
of racist
kind
wig.
of cultural appropriation long hair.
I like
She
the
is
long
a
hair.
she is a
I
long
have
hair
long
Jacob
hair
defender.
It-
I can understand the concept of long hair Jacob being attractive.
he looks like
I
cute
just
as a
I just genuinely think it's a
He
bad
has
wig.
puppy dog
It-
eyes, and then
it-
he becomes an
the
asshole.
the wig's a lot better in the second one than it is
Oh
in the
yeah,
first one.
much better.
Yeah. Because
But-
it's like not like in the first one it was really messy and like in
Yeah.
his face. Now it's like tied back.
But the thing is, but then he shaves and becomes shirtless wolf boy, and then he's like, Bella.
Because like he gets
Bella,
the
I
bikes,
don't know.
he gets the bikes picked up, and he's like, man, I should have took longer to fix these bikes so you'd hang out with me and like fall in love. And like he's like actively becoming like super aggressive,
Yeah.
and he just
Okay.
cuts her off.
What led to the interaction where Mike, and Jacob are at the movies together?
Mike asks her out,
Oh, yeah.
and she's like, I only watch scary movies now. So they go to see Face Punch.
Which is just like an action movie.
And everybody ditches them because Mike is clearly trying to like get in her pants, and then she has also invited Jacob
Which is funny because in the first
because
movie,
her other human friends don't know about him,
which is funny.
and she has to buy him a ticket because
Yeah.
he's 16.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't even. That's funny.
Well, what's funny? What's also funny is that what's also funny is that throughout the first movie and in subsequent movies, Bella is working her ass off to cook up Jessica, Anna Kendrick's character, with
With Mike.
Mike, and Mike is
Mike
not
will
taking-
stop asking
and
her out.
Mike is not taking
No,
a
not even
single
that. It's because
hit.
Jessica and Mike are like actually like into each other.
Yeah.
And Bella's a bro, and she's like,
Yeah.
dude, she's in
I don't
love
know
with
why
you.
Dude,
Mike
she's
she's
hot
trying
and
to
Anna
move over.
Kendrick.
She's Anna Kendrick. She's hot, bro. Go for
Yeah,
it.
no.
I mean, they do end up together at the end, or maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
They kind of fade into the background
They do
after a
end up
while.
together.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't even think they're in the last movie.
But the reason we mentioned the movie theater is that it leads to like an unironically great joke
where they both have their
we
hand
did it at the
on
beginning
her
of the video, a very
armrest.
subtle bit.
And she's looking between their hands like, oh boy, boys only want one thing.
And she
Just
just, like,
hauling the
rolls up.
armrest.
Hard.
Well, and it's not just that she's looking between them. It's the joke is almost shot like something you'd see in an Edgar Wright movie, where it, like swoops over to one hand, then swoops over to the other, then swoops up to her face as she's like, oh my
Reacting.
God. Yeah, it's good.
It's a really good
That's
joke.
where Jack and I were both just like, wait, this joke is actually unironically good.
I love Edgar Wright.
I love Edgar Wright.
I love Edgar Wright.
Except, and then Jack's like, actually, I think I prefer, what's his name?
Mike?
No.
This
Sean
doesn't
Penn.
matter.
Whatever.
Simon
Peck.
Simon
Whatever.
Jack's not here.
Jack has opinions that are not going to be
Relevant.
They're
They're
not
not going to
relevant.
matter
Get fucked.
because once
They were not they are not the official guests on this episode.
They didn't watch
Therefore,
all
they do
5
not
movies.
exist.
They watched up to Eclipse.
Yeah.
So they don't have the final piece of the arc, which is learning to unironically enjoy Twilight.
Yes.
So
Although he was.
he
He
was.
was.
Yeah.
You can act like it was, I'm doing it for the shits and giggles. No,
By
you were
Eclipse,
you
yeah.
genuinely liked how stupid it was, and you were into it.
So then Jacob gets real. The flirting continues.
He gets roided up for
He
sure.
gets-
The whole second act is
He gets-
Jacob really, really trying to
He
get
grows
Bella to be
honka-
more than just friends.
He grows honka donka badonka sized muscles.
and like abs, and like he's like fully like Bella.
Bella,
What's up?
bro.
He gets a tattoo.
My favorite is when she goes and finds Alice like in her house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because Alice is one of
Because she at one point, Bella eventually
Bella
Alice
is
Al-
so desperate to see Edward again,
Edward's
and
ghost.
that she jumps off a cliff.
When
And
she
then
saw
Alice
her,
has to
when
save
she
her.
saw Jacob and his buddies doing, she
Yeah.
was like, I can do that. She can't.
No,
I
she
forgot- okay.
she almost breaks her leg when she goes into
There's
it
also- there's-
because she jumps wrong, and then
She
she
hits her
sees
head against-
Victoria coming.
Oh yeah, we
hits her
haven't
head on
mentioned
the
we
wall.
haven't even mentioned Victoria yet. James's girlfriend vampire is
Because
hunting Bella.
vampires mate for life, and
Yeah.
that's like a thing in the Twilight
So they
universe.
killed James. And
They
now
hunt-
Once they
she
killed
can't
James,
meet him.
and
They made for
first
life,
one?
but they also dead ass fuck
For life.
constantly.
For life, yeah.
They just
And
like
then,
fuck. They're like no, but I mean like they polyamorous fuck.
Yeah.
No.
No?
Some of them
Canonically
do.
not.
Canonically,
Oh, really?
no.
Canonically, they're very
A
Non-canonically,
lot of
non-canonically, Carlisle is drowning in pussy.
Only,
yeah.
only in the Mormon canon do they.
Yeah, no, they're
Which is
like
ironic,
canonically
actually,
monogamic,
because
like really
Mormons.
monogamous, and it's weird.
Ironic because Mormon.
Yeah, no, I think
Mormon.
vampirism is like inherently kind of queer.
Yeah.
And like that's.
It's one of those things that's it's inherently boundary transgressive.
Especially like sexually,
So-
because vampires.
Yeah.
So she
So
jumped.
Victoria comes back from the end of the first one to avenge James, which was her mate.
But
And you think that's going to be the big
Not-
third act finale?
that's
where
that's-
you're wrong.
No, that Victoria is pushed to the third movie, which is a
Yeah.
shame because she's an uninteresting villain, and I don't like that.
And then she gets replaced with Bryce
and then
Dallas
she gets
Howard.
and
Yeah.
like any interest you might have had in Victoria is gone because you have to get used to a new actress playing her.
that, and she has like, I don't know.
She has no interesting. She literally has no interesting
No.
power. She's one of the only vampires.
Oh yeah, the vampires.
one of the
have
vampires
power.
that has no powers.
like Edward can read people's thoughts.
Alice can see the
Alice can see
future.
into the future.
Also, she has the power of being best girl.
And she's awesome.
Yeah, she's the
fucking
best member.
cool.
Carlisle has
Base.
is it actually super control or is it?
He's just very good.
He's
at
just
controlling.
very
Okay,
good
well,
at
he
controlling
has-
his
Jasper,
instincts.
he
He
has
has-
emotions. Super sick.
Yeah.
Rami Malek shows up in the fifth one and he can bend elements.
Rosalie and Emmett have the boring powers of
They
being.
don't have powers.
They don't?
They're hot.
Oh, I
And
thought
they're
they actually
strong.
had the
No.
power of being hot.
Story
and being
said that. I
strong.
was like, no, don't say that. They're gonna get confused. They're just regular vampires.
Okay.
Because most vampires are just fucking normal.
Not all vampires have powers, but
But
then
most of the important ones
but
do.
then also some vampires have powers so
Well, the
strong
Cullens-
that they activate when they're humans.
Like Bella, who has the
Bella has the power
to
to
be
be
immune to
resistant
other-
to the vampire.
And that's why
powers.
Edward's enter her in the first place because he can't read her thoughts, which we did fully just neglected to mention for the first.
Yeah.
Edward reading thoughts does not come into play as much. as
It leads to
would.
some interesting scenes
does,
in the movie, but
Oh, it's
like
definitely
bit.
relevant. You just think reading thoughts is a crazy power that I feel like would should dominate any narrative.
It does
but usually
dominate.
doesn't.
It's from the fact that it's from Bella's perspective.
Yeah.
yeah, and Edward's
I'm
not the
I'm
type
sure
of character
Midnight
who would.
Sun has lots of him reading.
Edward's not the type of character who would be like, "Hey, I read this guy's mind. We need to go. He's
Yeah.
gonna do some spooky shit."
Literally,
he would
to himself.
every
he would
single
keep it to
scene.
himself and do something about it in the background.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to scare Bella. but,
So the third act is we take a complete left turn into a different
Yeah.
storyline.
So Alice shows up because she thought she saw
she
Bella
first
die
saw-
in a vision,
She saw a vision of Bella jumping off a cliff, which she did do.
which she deadass
but
did do.
Because Jacob saved her from drowning.
I thought Alice. No.
Because Jacob saved her from drowning, she can't see the werewolves in her visions because vampire law, I guess.
Vampires.
They have a treaty. Does it,
Oh
I don't know.
no! The only
No.
time the treaty is important is when Jacob constantly violates it and
He's like-
gets no
He's,
punishment.
he's like, I can't go into the house and be in Alice's territory. It's vampire
And then he
territory.
does,
I
and
can't.
he
And then he
doesn't
does
face
5
reparations.
seconds later.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but if they turn Bella into a vampire, that would be breaking the code. And then literally
Of
every
them
other
kill-
werewolf is like, dude,
I
we're
don't care.
We don't care. If that's what she wants, it's fine. We'll turn a blind eye.
The other werewolves do not want to be involved in the Colin Bella stuff, and
No.
Jacob
Because
keeps
as soon as
dragging
Bella
them
gets turned
in.
into a vampire, it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
It's fine. And Jacob is just like, no, I want to sleep with her.
It's,
Um,
Jacob is
so-
cringe.
Jacob is the type of
But in
guy who
this
would
movie,
use
he's
the
funny.
code as an excuse to get revenge for Bella on Edward.
But
Oh,
in,
yeah.
but in this movie, he's funny, so it,
Yeah, in this movie he's funny, so it's fine.
he, because
in some scenes is the scene where he kisses her against is the scene where
No,
he-
that's in the Eclipse.
that's in the Eclipse. That's right.
They're about to kiss in the house in New Moon.
they're
Oh.
about to they're about to kiss in New Moon, and they get a phone call, and
right.
the phone
From
call.
Edward in Rio.
Because Alice told him about the
No, no,
vision,
no, no, no.
and he's
Alice specifically did not tell him about
Oh.
the vision. He talked to Rosalie because Rosalie's a little scheming bitch, and she was like, Alice saw Bella die, and Edward's like, what the fuck? I'm gonna kill myself.
and then he's like, he called the house to be like, please, is Bella there? Is she okay?
And dumbass Jacob said she's not here.
Sorry, Charlie isn't here. He has to plan a funeral
for his friend who died.
Oh yeah,
he had a heart attack.
Fucking stupid.
But the way he words it makes it sound like it's for Bella.
Yeah.
And it's very intentional because he like immediately hangs up the phone.
He has eye contact with
he's like 3
Bella
inches away from Bella, and he's talking to Edward like, no, he's not here.
So then we do.
And that puts Edward in such a funk that he goes to the Voltari Council, the Council of Secret Vampire Society, basically,
which are established in this movie.
There's a Italian city of vampires.
Yeah, you explain this. You probably are.
There's a city of vampires. Where the vampire council takes place, that's where their headquarters are, and the Italian city thinks that they're free of vampires because there was canonically vampires, and then they're like, oh no, we got rid of them thanks to this saint guy, but really there's a fucking castle full of vampires,
literally right in front of them.
Yeah. So Edward is like, hey, I'm gonna go to the Vampire Council and ask them to kill me. But because he can read minds, they're like, fuck no, join us.
You're too powerful for us to let die.
You're too powerful for us to just fucking kill, because vampires can only have one power, and once somebody has that power, they don't.
Aro has the closest thing to a duplicate of Edward's power, where he can read people's minds when he's touching them.
No, he can read fully every thought you ever had.
Every thought.
He's the vampire.
There's a lot of mind powers.
Yeah.
Or powers related to the mind.
And Alice is like, holy shit, he learned that he thinks you're dead now because fucking Rosalie and Jacob.
So he's going to the vampire capital.
Vampire Council. They rejected him, so now he's gonna straight up go into the middle of the "We got rid of vampires" parade and show himself
as a vampire.
Skin sparkling in the sun.
And they'll be like, oh, holy shit, he's a vampire.
And then they'll kill him.
And then they'll kill him.
So Bella...
So he can be at peace.
So Bella...
No, but this is what makes this the funniest one, is you spend the first 2 acts with, oh no, Edward left me, haha, Jacob, funny.
And she's barely getting over it, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna make out with
complete
180.
We have to save Edward from killing himself in the Italian vampire capital in front of an army, in front of a fucking crowd of people wearing red cloaks who are trying to celebrate the purging of all vampires.
Vampire purge.
And there's a vampire council.
And so Bella has to drive to Italy.
She has to fly to Italy.
She and Alice fly to Italy.
And then she runs through the city, through the fountain, to push Edward out of the sunlight.
And they do an amazing slow-mo shot where she's climbing over a fountain and then pushing. It's so good. And the best part is that when she goes to Italy, Jacob does not come with.
No.
So that storyline just
pauses
for a while.
It pauses until they get back.
It pauses until they go back. They spend just long enough at the Vampire Council that you forget about Jacob, and then
as soon as you're like, wait, what happened to Jacob? You see him in the middle of the road, waiting for them.
He's standing in the road, shirtless. Do you bleed? You will, Batman style posing in front of Bella's truck.
Well, what's so great about that scene is that in that scene, Bella is like, "Thank you for looking after me," but it was always about Edward. And I always will be. Essentially being like, you're a great friend to me, but I love Edward. And Jacob is like, how could you do this to her? And they start standing off as if they're about to fight.
So she goes to the Italian city. She saves him, and she's fully like, okay, I just needed for you to not fucking die. You can leave me now, because he tells her that he doesn't love her anymore. So she's like, okay, I guess he doesn't love me anymore. So when she saves him, she's like,
to be fair, she is kind of a gullible idiot. She's
like, you can let me go. Just don't fucking die on my behalf. And he's like, I always loved you. And
that's all.
The Vampire Council is like, oh, so you have a human girlfriend? That's pretty sick. When are you gonna turn her into a vampire? Can we eat her?
And then when they find out
And
that
they-
she's immune to their powers, they're like, ooh.
Holy shit, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, they're
And,
like, they are dead ass, like the three of them. Aro,
Caius and Marcus.
Caius, and Marcos.
Is Marcus the old
Marcus
one
and
that just
Caius.
Marcus is the
die?
old one who constantly wants to die, and
Love
then
him. King.
Caius.
Caius, yeah.
Caius is
As in,
the
like,
younger
the
one,
Roman
who's like
leader.
kind of like he has like General Hux energy, sort of.
A little bit.
It's Jamie Campbell Bower from fucking Sweeney Todd.
And Michael Sheen is Aro,
Michael
the main
Sheen is
one.
Who is
Arrow, and he's
hamming
like
it
the
up
Who's
greatest-
hamming it up perfectly.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what movie he is
It makes
in,
me-
and it's
It makes me sad that after this movie, the three leaders of the vampire
Don't
council
really come back until the
to
end.
like the last one.
The last two, really.
Yeah, the last two.
and even
Like,
then they're only important in the first one to establish the conflict in the
that
last
will be in the
one.
lap and Breaking Dawn Part 2.
But they only avoid
the only
this plot point in
Yeah.
New Moon is the setup for like the rest of the series finale.
yeah.
Because Arrow is like, holy shit, I want to collect all the cool vampires in the Cullen family, and they're
Because there's like
no,
50
fuck you,
of
we
them.
don't
All
eat
the
people.
Cullen family have like power.
Because
Yeah.
they're cool and they eat animals, I
Yeah.
guess. And they're good people, I guess.
Yeah.
They have moral consciences.
And he's like,
consciousness.
ooh, we can't have that now, can we?
Yeah. No, and Arrow is fully like, oh, I want to collect them all. I'll kill your girlfriend if you don't turn her into a vampire first. And she's like, sick. This is just what I wanted. This is
Everybody
perfect.
wants that except
And
Edward.
and Alice is like, I've seen a vision. She's gonna be a vampire. And Arrow's like, sick. Do it quickly. And that's the end of that. And they're allowed
Yes.
to leave.
Yeah. And then they
And it's
get
like very
also-
tentative. Like they're gonna be like
They
visited
also,
upon by
they
these
also
Italian
introduced
vampires.
they also introduced Dakota Fanning.
Dakota
who's like
Fanning is a
an
character
underling
who-
for the council who can
She's
just
like hundreds of years old.
Yeah,
She
we
looks
see
like she's
her. We see
13.
her in the last movie as like a frozen vampire, like teenager,
From like the 1500s.
who is
she
like
says-
who is like yeah, and it's probably implied that she was even older than that.
Oh, yeah.
She says her power is pain.
She can cause
like,
she just
excruciating
causes
pain.
Excruciating pain upon
Most of
someone.
the, sometimes in the movie she just says pain and then
Sometimes she just kind of stares at you.
Yeah.
It's probably just one of those things where she can
It's just
she
narrative.
can
She's
normally
just
do it by
dramatic
just
bitch.
staring,
Yeah.
but she likes to be a dramatic
and
bitch.
she's
Dramatic.
cool. But it's unfortunate that the only vampire council members in Eclipse are her and her two friends.
Who barely get established.
Well, her brother, and then like two other henchmen, and they don't even establish that her brother has like also fucking cool powers.
He does?
He
What's his
does?
power?
Yeah, remember he has the smoke.
Oh, right. he's
Oh,
the
he
smoke,
has
but,
the
But
smoke.
that doesn't come into play until the fifth movie.
Yeah, it doesn't even come into
This
play.
whole Vampire Council Italy part of the movie
It's like super interesting.
is
And then-
But
super
like, it just,
interesting.
like,
But we are,
cut
but
off.
we're almost, but it's like almost glanced over in regard to focus more on the Edward Bella conflict.
It is the Vampire Council stuff is fully in this movie, super interesting, but not important to the plot of New Moon.
Which is
It's
why
important
it
to
only-
the plot of the future movies.
Which is
It's
why
just
it's,
important that
but it's
Edward
so funny
survives
because
and
it's
Bella gets what she wants by being supposed to be a vampire.
Yeah.
So when they
once
go
they
back
get
to
married
Forks,
eventually.
Yeah.
once they
at
get
some
back to
point.
Forks, he's like, "All right, Bella, I'll turn you into a vampire. I'll
In
do it
2
myself."
movies from now.
No, he's like, "I'll do it myself if you give me a few years." And
Yeah.
she's like, "No, fuck you."
If you
And
give me a
she's
few,
like-
if you give me a few movies,
And then he's like, "Okay, will you marry me first?" And she's like, "Fuck, I guess."
she's
doesn't
like
believe
she's
in
like
marriage.
wait, marry you? I thought we just wanted to spend the rest of our lives, mortal lives together.
I thought we were gonna be a common law couple.
Like I actually had this thing with
Vampire.
Alice. I thought this was just like a fuck buddies thing.
I thought we were just bros. I mean, and so Jacob is understandably upset because one, Bella is going to be a vampire at some point in the future, and that breaks the treaty. And apparently that's
By
something he
his
cares
logic
about.
and his logic alone.
he doesn't care
because
about
he
that.
wants to
He's
sleep
just-
with her, and he doesn't want her to fucking die. And that's because he doesn't want to sleep with her when she's a vampire.
Yeah.
Because he
Yes.
thinks that's gross.
Ew,
Vampires are gross. And
Vampires
it's stinky.
gross.
Actually, the werewolves are stinky.
The
No,
werewolves
no,
are
Bella
canonically
canonically
stinky.
smells amazing.
She smells like.
I love how
It's supposed to be like flowers. That's
That's
canonically.
why
She
there's
smells
like
like
those,
lavender.
they're in that
and-
bed of lavenders so often.
No,
in
that's
that
just
field.
because.
I mean, that's
the
aesthetic,
dream.
but it's like, oh, right, the
Stephanie
dream
Meyer.
that
Yeah.
Stephanie
That's
Meyer.
the golf course, actually.
It's a golf.
It's a golf course.
That's kind of amazing.
In
So
Fork?
Jacob is
it in
pissed
Fork?
because no,
Forks?
because it's in like
That's the name of the
California.
town.
So Jacob is pissed because he's going to be a vampire. He wants to sleep with her, and she's going to be not human. And also now they're engaged, and he's like, "What the fuck?" He doesn't find out
until
they're engaged.
Eclipse, technically.
Bella
he
knows
kind of
that he's gonna be upset about it. So she's hiding it from him, and Edward's pissed about it because he's dramatic and he wants to be like, "Hey, this is my wifey. We're getting married." Because he's traditional and he won't sleep with her at all. So
no matter how hard she tries.
So all of New Moon to Eclipse, she's like, "Will you please sleep with me?" And he's like,
"Babe, please,
Can we talk about Eclipse now? Because what you're describing is most of the plot of Eclipse.
Yeah,
the entire plot of Eclipse is Edward being like, "You have to marry me before we can sleep together."
And it's also Edward low-key being like, "Oh, look at all the stuff you're gonna have to give up when you become a vampire."
It starts off with him being like, "Oh, you're gonna marry me? Okay, sick. You're also gonna be turning into a vampire? Less sick. Also, I don't want you to do that, so I'm gonna bring everybody into your life and try to remind you you should not be doing this at all." And
but then it kind of ends up backfiring.
It backfires because he's like, she's like, "Sure, fuck, I'll
and then they're
abandon my entire family. I don't give a
it's
shit."
Edward being.
It's not like they cared that much about me anyway.
They do care about her. That's the issue.
So it's Edward doing that, and then it's Jacob, and then it's Jacob also being like, but what if you didn't marry Edward, and what if you had sex with me instead?
And then he forcibly kisses her.
Yeah.
No, so for Eclipse, it's understandable, from New Moon, if he hadn't acted like an asshole that entire time, it would be okay, he can give her a human life. He's gonna live longer, as a werewolf, 100-ish years.
But he's not straight up.
But
immortal.
he's not immortal. So they're gonna grow old together. They can have a life. She can be human
on paper.
And all that. She's not gonna change. And it makes sense because they have a good vibe as friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
But because he's a fuckboy.
On paper, a relationship with Jacob would be way less toxic than a relationship with the 100-year-old groomer vampire.
But the 100-year-old groomer vampire respects her.
And
as a
Jacob
person.
does not.
Jacob does not.
No, she's an object to Jacob.
Yeah.
Full, and that is crystal clear in Eclipse.
It's
where
clear,
he treats her like an object.
It's clear enough in New Moon, and then we get 3 more movies of it, which is just Jacob just gets worse and worse. He's not funny anymore.
Eclipse,
why is he still here?
But by the end of New Moon, it is clear. Okay, it's gonna be Edward. It was always going to be Edward. Jacob is just there for some spice.
Yeah.
And the spice in Eclipse
gets rancid.
So in
Eclipse is rancid.
Eclipse,
I don't like this
the
one.
main.
It might be good. It might be a good book. It's not a good movie.
It's a good one. I think you guys were also just really tired. And
Yes, it also was. I was sick of
It's fine
Jacob's
if you
shit.
had a year between the movies.
The year that it takes place in the real story.
Yeah. No.
Or just
when
in
it
the
actually
real life.
came out.
Yeah.
It takes place in a weird time where it's both a year after the events of.
No, it's not even a year after. It's 3 weeks.
Okay, I was.
The plot of Eclipse is it starts off and it's oh, this guy got fucking murdered, and he's turning into a vampire.
It starts out rather interesting. There's these murders happening and they don't know why.
And it's very clearly vampires, but they're not sure who. And of course, it's Victoria.
It's Victoria.
But they don't say that. They don't figure that out.
They don't figure that out till an hour in. She's puppeting this other guy named Riley.
So
has there ever been a cool character named Riley?
Yes.
Who?
Fucking Inside Out.
Damn. All right. Has there ever been a cool male character named Riley?
No.
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm not sure who.
I'm just every time this
even in Pacific Rim, Riley's the worst character.
But so there's this vampire named Riley.
Riley
and he's a simp.
Midnight Mass. Get fucked.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen Midnight.
Two good Rileys.
There's Riley, and he's a simp for Victoria, and I don't care about either of them, but they're the villains.
He gets turned by Victoria so that he can pilot this newborn army, because when you turn a vampire, when you turn a vampire newly, they're super strong and stronger than normal vampires. So they're all gonna be a group of really strong vampires, and they're gonna attack the Cullens and wipe them out, and Edward's not going to be able to see that it's coming because Riley's doing it, not Victoria. Or,
and then
Alice, yeah.
I don't want to spend a ton of time explaining this.
They only have one good scene, and that's when they're like fucking attacking this like car crash.
So the vampires
and Riley comes in and he's like, "What did I say about low profile?"
Well, the reason that's funny is because the scene right before this movie also has a lot of backstory explaining. Like they explain
Rosalie's backstory and Jasper's backstory, and they only know about the vampire army because Jasper was a fucking Confederate
soldier,
and they had vampire turf wars, and they did the newborn army thing in like 1865 during the Civil War, and he was a fucking murderer.
Jasper
and
was
Rosalie
the worst one, and then he met Alice.
Yeah.
So Kirk explained Alice's backstory, but the movie doesn't explain it, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter because it was only included in the first book, and the first movie was adapted on like an indie budget by an indie filmmaker, so it doesn't really matter.
With a very self-contained.
But anyway, back to what we were talking about. There's a great. So Rosalie's backstory is like really dark.
Yeah, it's great.
She gets sexually assaulted and killed by her
fiance,
and then she goes on and then when Carlisle saves her, she goes on a rampage, killing everyone and saving her husband for last.
She dresses up in her wedding dress and murders every man who gang raped her.
That's a fucking
and then she kills her ex-fiance in her wedding dress.
That's like a fucking Victorian Mary Shelley premise.
Bestie.
So right after that,
she has a really cool premise. Unfortunately, she just kind of She eventually gets turned into just a mouthpiece for the barefoot and pregnant mentality.
Yeah.
Well, like she wanted to be like not pregnant.
She wanted to have the perfect happy family.
Domestic. She wanted like a husband and kids and all that, which like cool for a character. That's fine.
Do we have to find out Esme's backstory?
No. I literally did not know Esme was a character until the fourth movie.
He kept forgetting about Esme and Emmett until I told him about Emmett.
I forgot about Emmett once, and it wasn't even forgot, he just looks different.
They don't look different.
They change up the hairstyles and looks of characters in odd amounts.
Rosalie just gets a
different
different wig every time.
Yeah, they just get different
Mike, one of the human characters, looks different every movie.
No, he straight up gets different haircuts.
No, once I told them though that Emmett was turned into a vampire because he tried to fight a bear and got killed.
That is amazing.
Rosalie dragged him from these woods
and was like,
I found a little boy.
But they cut straight from Rosalie's dramatic backstory and her explaining it to Bella to vampires trashing this just trashing a bunch of cars and Riley yelling, "What did I say about keeping a low profile?"
Because
it's really funny.
It's the newborn army.
And so they don't follow the Voltari or the Colon rules.
Well, that three are looking over and being like,
Dakota
just let this happen because we don't give a shit.
That transition between those two scenes had peak Mogger's energy. Mogadorian energy. That was the only part of the movie that had Mogadorian energy.
Except for Jasper's hair.
Jasper's hair was very Mogadorian.
How?
It just was.
It was just bad. It was just a bad haircut.
That's how it was Mogadorian. He also gets a southern accent starting in the third movie. He gets a Texan accent. That's where they establish
he gets a Texan accent.
It's not super over the top, but it's there.
There are scenes
it's just occasionally, there's occasionally one line that'll stick out where it's like, oh wow, where the fuck did this come from, Jasper?
Okay, Jasper. They're suddenly talking now. Yeah.
So that's a fun scene, but overall, I
think the problem is mostly just that the villains aren't really that interesting, and the big finale of this movie is a conflict with the villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a big fight in the werewolves team up with the vampires to save
That was cool.
That was cool.
And it's
fight
cool,
was cool.
but
the little we got to see of the big fight was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just under built up. It was just okay, we're doing this now. And I was like, all right.
This one more than any of the other ones feels like a poor adaptation of source material rather than bad source material adapted. The previous
two books, and it felt like they were struggling to fit all the material in, the same way that they were doing with the plot points from the past two books. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of scrunched.
Yeah.
This isn't the. I don't know if
I don't know if this is the worst one. It's not the one we're gonna.
I feel like it was just the one we had the least fun.
They had the least fun with it because they were tired, but also because that one, it needs to be. You need a break from Twilight because it's very strong.
This is
relationship drama.
This
it's
is
really
that
messy.
That was the valley of our watching.
I find when you do a movie watching marathon of more than 3 movies, that the third movie is always when the oh my god, I've been sitting here for 5 hours starts to set in.
Yeah.
I felt that when I watched all 4 Shrek movies. Granted, that's also because the third one is bad. But
I think if it's a good movie,
that
lifts it out of the.
But like
the
Eclipse felt like the biggest slog.
Yeah. And it's not helped that not really a lot is progressed.
Yes.
From where we were in the last
They
movie.
introduced this cool vampire council. They introduced
the biggest progression is that Bella and Edward are officially engaged.
And
not even married.
They're not even married, but Bella, this is where they develop that she's like, okay, well, can I have sex with you while I'm still human? And he's like, no. and then she's like,
sex.
And then she's like, okay, I'll marry you. And he's like, okay, we can have sex while we're married, only. And then I'll turn you into a human, maybe.
Turn you into a vampire.
Into a vampire, maybe, yeah.
So then but none of that happens in this movie. That's what I think that's part of what annoyed me, is a lot of that is established at the end. A lot of what is established at the end of New Moon just gets
happening.
Stalled.
Well, in Eclipse, Jacob is like trying to manipulate her into.
I don't want to talk about Jacob.
I don't want to. I'm tired of Jacob.
He assaults her.
He assaults her.
Yeah.
There's the only good that scene is bad, but then there's a funny joke where she punches him and she breaks her hand because he's a fucking a wall of stone, basically.
Werewolf face.
Werewolf face, yeah.
But
and then
like once they get to like the newborn army climax thing, he's like, I'm gonna kill myself. I just found out you guys are engaged.
She has to make out with him to get him to not make out to kill himself.
No. The dialogue makes it really apparent. She's like, I need you. Not enough.
Yeah, he's like,
you're the most
to me.
You're the most important thing to me. Not enough. Kiss me. Okay.
And he like fully like makes out with her for like 5 minutes.
It's longer than a lot of the Edward makeouts.
And then Edward is like, and then Bella is like, I'm sorry I had to do that in front of you. And Edward's like, I understand.
It's chill.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I understand. He's a dumbass.
There is never a moment in any of these movies where
Bella disrespects her choice.
Yeah, where there is never a moment where Edward and Bella feud about Jacob. There is never a moment where Bella actually considers choosing Jacob over Edward. The feud is one-sided as hell. Yes. Edward just like doesn't care about Jacob. He's like this.
He barely even considers him a threat.
No. Like there's a scene where
like a physical threat, like not like a relationship threat.
Yeah, there's a scene where Jacob is like cuddling with Bella to keep her from frostbite, and like he and Edward are having like late night discussions because they don't sleep.
And to tease the Edward Jacob shippers.
Yeah, for the Edward Jacob shippers. And Edward's like really understanding, and he's like, we could be friends if we weren't like natural enemies, blah blah blah. Werewolves, and if you weren't trying to kill my girlfriend or trying to take my girlfriend from me. And Jacob is like, no, fuck you, I wouldn't like you even then. And Edward is just like very clearly the better person here.
Yeah. No, it's
he's extending the olive branch, and Jacob is being a petty little bitch.
Team Edward versus Team Jacob is not so much who's better, because Team Edward versus Team Jacob implies they were introduced at the same like level, right? It's not.
They weren't even introduced as she's friends with Jacob, but maybe she wants something more. And then Edward comes into her life. She's like, oh, that's my good friend Jacob. Who's this cute new boy?
It's more like both teams kind of suck, but Team Jacob existing makes Edward like the Jacob's
existence makes Edward better,
and like. That just continues.
Yeah, it just...
but the first movie, I'm like, this relationship is gross, and then by the end, I'm like, you know what? I support them. This started out in the ickiest way, but like, by now, it's like, whatever.
There's no going back at this point.
Yeah. We're here.
Bella was too determined to date this man.
And too determined to become a vampire. That's what I think is interesting. Is like
she's so dedicated.
Her motivation to become a vampire is not just I want to fuck Edward. That's a huge part of it.
Like in the
but I
third
feel
one,
like she
it's
also
like,
just doesn't want to age and like wants to have cool powers.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. It's like she doesn't feel like right in her body, like as a human.
Yeah.
She feels like she's like wasn't made.
Well, she has this power that was clearly made to be a
well, like
vampire.
she's introduced.
And then in the third
to
movie,
the
they
vampires,
try to
she's
like have her do this speech about how it isn't a selfish motivation.
Well, because they do that in the books, but they
But it's also clearly like
the
she
movie.
wants to be a vampire because she thinks vampires are cool, and that she is and that she was meant to be a vampire.
And like she's like terrible at like walking and like staying alive, and like she's just bad at like
she's
being
bad
a
at
human.
existing.
And in the rules,
like her humanity is constantly threatened just by being alive.
In the universe they establish, like, vampires are cool.
Yeah, and there's not really a downside to being
There's
a
no
vampire
downside to being a Cohen family member.
Aside from you occasionally have to move around a lot and drink blood.
You watch everyone you love die.
Yeah, her only
Okay, but after a few hundred years, you just get numb to that.
After what will you have after 400?
I mean, I'll have like all my vampire family.
Yeah,
so I guess.
besties.
No, and the Cohen family is so based that you're like, you know what? Sure, like
she has a family here.
Carlisle is a suitable replacement.
And she doesn't end up having to give up Charlie.
No.
Because like you see Charlie and you're like, why would you give him up? He's so good. Because he is incredible.
Her mom, on the other hand, not.
Her mom is barely a character.
Yeah, no, her mom is just there because
her mom's like divorced and
lives
lives somewhere else.
Yeah, so the only like driving force keeping Bella human is Charlie, and also because Edward doesn't want to do it.
Yeah,
he's like worried about her soul and shit.
I like the angle of my phone on us better than I did the opening clip. Join us. Join us. Join us.
Join us.
Are we ready to...
Let's move on to Breaking Dawn.
Join us for Breaking Dawn discussion, which we're going to briefly talk about both collectively, and then we'll talk in more detail.
I think let Lauren give her piece. Mm-hmm. We'll give a brief summation, and then we'll talk about it more in detail later in this video
with story.
But a few days later with story.
Yeah. So Breaking Dawn Part 1, it's like fully just the exposition of like, okay, she got married to Edward, and
they had a baby.
They had sex, and now she's preggers, and it's unnatural. And then they like try and shoehorn in all this like werewolf subplot that like makes you like care about Jacob, like makes you care about.
We have to talk about the live action Jungle Book scene.
There's a live action.
Oh my god!
That they never do up until this point.
Where all of the werewolves in werewolf form are having a discussion together. Well, keep in mind, by this point, it has been established that they are telepathic, and the way they show this is by having them like look and howl without actually saying words.
So this is a whole scene where
it's
they're
like
all
not cringy.
And then in this scene, they're all in they're like in a logger's cabin, like all talking. Like, straight up talking, like, we can't let this baby be born. It's an abomination.
It's a scene of CGI wolves arguing, and they're impossible to understand, and it's just, like, stupid.
And then it never happens ever again.
Well, this is also arguably where they are animated the worst.
This is also before this point in the movie, the focus is on Edward and Bella, and then suddenly Jacob runs off in his werewolf form,
I consent. I don't.
And Jacob just runs off to the subplot, and it's just when you realize those wolves after that scene are going to keep reappearing and keep being a conflict. It's something.
It's interesting if they didn't fuck up that scene so bad.
Yeah.
It's something that I feel if
like we posted a more interesting version of that scene where like they don't make a decision about what happens to the baby until they see it born.
Yeah.
Because that's like canonically what they would do.
Yeah, they would be like
they want to kill Bella before she has the baby or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. And Jacob,
it doesn't even really make sense. It
doesn't make sense
because like it seems like the baby's basically viable.
It's not
because there's a question of
it's
is
like
it going to be
killing her Like,
Yeah,
she's not
okay.
gonna
The
survive.
baby like drains Bella of her life.
Like, it's
Yeah.
draining her of her life.
And
That's
that's
the whole
really
first
fucked
movie.
up. That movie is really fucked up because
There's like a lot of body
she's
horror.
yeah, she gets really gaunt and thin.
Uh-huh.
And there's also a nightmare scene where when she first gets married, where she's like standing over the a dead body of everyone she loves, covered in blood.
Oh my god, I
And she's
forgot about that
fucking
scene.
murdered.
That's
Is
a
she
wild
murdered or
scene.
murdered?
Because there's
Yeah.
nothing else in the movie.
There's like
anywhere
very few horror
where
elements
well,
except for part one.
But then there's some elements that are so horrific. It's like, how did you get away showing this in a
It's also,
PG-13
it's also
movie?
like
Right.
there's never another moment where a conflict is established where Bella's afraid of what she's going to become when she's a vampire.
Because she becomes a vampire and it's fine.
Yeah. So I don't know why that scene exists,
like-
but it's cool.
Like, most of part one is like werewolf unnecessary drama that they've already like
That they would have
established.
written out if Breaking Dawn was one
Or
movie
at
instead of two
the
movies.
very least,
trimmed down
trimmed
considerably.
considerably.
Like one or
Yeah.
two scenes.
And then like they're like arguing with
And then a lot of-
Rosalie
and then a lot of pro-choice,
and Edward is
pro-death,
like
pro-life.
very like anti-creature baby because he calls it and thing, and then Rosalie's like it's a baby.
You
She's very
say
clearly just a mouthpiece.
baby. It's very.
It's very clearly like she's just a mouthpiece for sex.
and
so
it's, to be
awkward.
fair, it is Bella's choice to want the kid.
But Bella never talks about it.
But
Ever.
Bella never talks about it, and before this scene, she never had an interest in child rearing.
No.
It makes all of it's the rare moment that makes all of the Cullens look like assholes.
Except for Carlisle,
Carlisle,
who removes himself from the scenario.
Because he's a
like,
doctor.
I'm a doctor. I will do whatever Bella wants to do.
Yeah, he goes.
He gives her the information as
Yeah,
best
he's
he
like
can.
he tells her this baby will not be viable I cannot save the baby and you, so you have to choose
And
whether to
it's very
save
likely
yourself
gonna kill
or
you,
save
yeah.
the baby.
And then when the situation changes, he informs her. He's the doctor. He
Yeah.
goes full doctor mode. He doesn't give his opinions
He's ethical.
like everybody else
Yeah.
does. He just does his
Like,
job.
everybody else is,
Carlisle
like,
Bates.
their opinions.
Carlisle Bates.
Yeah. So like Emmett, Jasper, and Alice, like they're fine aside from having like an opinion, but they're not like pushing it
Yeah.
at all. They're just like, I'm on this side of the debate, and I'm
then
gonna
you're-
support you no matter what. But this is my
So
opinion.
basically, what we're saying is, Breaking Dawn Part 1 kind of gets all the like cringy, awkward, like pre-baby.
It takes all the baby shit like from like Stephanie Meyer's like I'm gonna insert my political views. They're bad.
So much,
When I-
so
when I-
much for pro-choice.
Yeah.
When I heard Breaking Dawn would be split into two movies, I was like, oh god, this is going to be painful. Weirdly enough, splitting it into two movies basically just made one. They made
One
one
movie, all the exposition.
All the
one movie
exposition
was
and
all the
message.
bad. One movie was all the good.
Yeah.
Well, like so they're able to
Ironically
like cover
or unironically.
part one. Part one, they're able to cover like her giving birth and
Getting
Jacob
married
and getting married and Jacob becoming like a separate.
and then it ends with her getting
werewolf
turned
thing.
into a vampire.
And she gets turned into a vampire through the pregnancy.
They have to like inject her.
And it's,
they
like,
have to turn her
super
into a
graphic.
vampire to save her
It's
life.
super
It's
graphic.
pretty, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
And then Jacob imprints on her baby, and then she
That
turns into
doesn't
a
happen.
vampire.
Oh no! that
no, it
doesn't
happens in this movie. That's what stops the
that's what
werewolves.
stops the wolf.
Because they're like, oh,
you imprinted on my daughter.
you know, in their head, they're like, what the fuck, Jacob?
Okay.
Did it have to be the baby?
It's so gross.
It is
And
so.
then, like, they-
So the
they're
wolves
able to
have this
start
thing
part
called.
two.
Yeah, and
Like,
part 2 opens with
You
Bella
imprinted on my daughter.
now a full vampire.
So it's like by part 2.
Just basically vibing.
By part 2,
Yeah.
all the romance drama is over, and it's just the conflict between the vampire council who want Bella and the baby and like the Cullens
Yeah.
and the good
They
guys.
want all of the powerful vampires.
And that movie's great. They gather like a group of cool, random side vampire
Because
characters from
Carlisle
around
is so
the world.
cool.
Carlisle
Carlisle
is-
has connections like all around
Yeah,
the world because he's
it's
a
awesome.
good person.
And he was also one of the
And he was a
Voltari.
Volturi. So like he has like all these people that like care about him and his beliefs and like are willing to like fight for him against the Volturi because
Yeah.
they suck.
It's great.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's
so-
like they're like building an Avengers army.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they
it's
have
the
like
Avengers.
And they all have
something
really cool powers.
Yes, it's fun.
One of
That's
them,
the
one of them's
how
the
it shows up.
Avatar. One of them has like dream powers.
Yeah. And then there's like fucking Electro Girl.
Electro Girl.
No, this
I think one of them like can turn invisible or something.
the fifth.
No, that she can like make you hallucinate.
By Breaking Dawn Part 2, all the cringe plot points are over, except you imprinted on my daughter. But that one is funny.
That one is funny because of how fucked it is.
They get over it.
They also, they really they have one scene where Bella is chewing out Jacob, and then Jacob's just kind of vibing for the rest of the movie.
Which is kind of fucked. Which is kind of fucked, but it's not.
Pet.
He's basically their pet. You can tell the writers were trying so hard to massage that dumb storyline into something even remotely tolerable.
Yeah, the plot
and it almost worked. It almost worked.
But he doesn't get charming again.
No. You're always thinking in your head, oh
He's
yeah, that's the asshole who imprinted on a baby.
So the wolves have this the werewolf people. It's bad.
It's like their absolute law that they can't kill whoever.
Whoever they imprint on is the person they're dedicated to that they have to protect, and it's definitely not romance. He definitely isn't going to fuck the baby.
So does that mean I have to call you dad now?
But when he has the vision where he's imprinting on the baby, he sees it as a teenager. It also ages super fast. Also, as soon as this happens, he stops trying to flirt with Bella. That conflict.
The horniness he has for Bella is completely gone.
And every other
because he imprinted on her.
Yes, and every other moment where the imprinting is mentioned throughout the series,
it's a romantic thing.
Romantic. Yeah. So it's you say it isn't. But it is.
But everything you're showing us
and Bella's reaction also says that it is.
I love that reaction where she's so tired. She's so tired of Jacob's shit that she just grabs him by the neck and throws him out of the house.
And he's
I wish he was gone after that.
Unfortunately, he has to stick around. But that would be a great exit for him because that is exactly what he deserves.
He literally sticks around because they need somebody to protect the daughter in the final.
And they're like, okay, I know he's a creep, but we can trust that he's not going to
trust he won't hurt the.
We can trust that he's not going to let anyone hurt the baby.
Yeah. So he's just kind of vibing for the rest of the movie. Doesn't do anything. Multiple vampires make comments about, why did you bring the stinky dog, man?
They basically just treat him like a smelly dog.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great. It's like he totally deserves it by this point.
Yeah.
But so they're gathering all these vampires
because because Irina, one of Edward Cullen's cousins, or a cousin.
Oh right,
family,
she sees the baby and she's like.
She sees the baby and
she
assumes
it's a vampire baby,
somebody
which is against vampire code because vampire babies have all of the bloodlust of a newborn vampire,
but none of the rationale
of an adult because they're a child.
Yeah.
And they're and Irina knows this personally because her family her mom created a vampire baby way back in the old times.
I think my family is arriving home, so it's about to get louder. So
let's wrap up this part.
There's a big conflict.
It ends in a big conflict.
Are coming to kill the Cullens or capture them or whatever, and the
4D chess.
They just 4D chess the shit out of everything. Because
Alice pieces out,
Alice is
and then returns at the most
Alice is planning ahead and making sure that they have an escape plan and that they have backups and everything is good for any eventuality that might happen because she can see the future.
Right.
So
I can see the future.
And she and Jasper just fuck off for the most of the part.
Yeah.
And then they return to the final battle
to try to talk peace, but then
we don't need to explain it. Let's just
let you.
Lauren, what do you think of the fight that happens but doesn't happen?
I love it so much.
It's so great.
Basically, Aro sees a fight.
It gets to have its
powers in Alice's mind, so we see this fight, and then it's oh, the fight didn't actually happen. But it would happen.
Yeah,
and it's one of
the rare times
murdering fight sequence.
It's one of the rare times where it gets to have its cake and eat it too without feeling unsatisfied.
Yeah. And so in the books none
of that happens.
Do they even describe what's happening? They just are
it's very brief and it's very just oh, this is what could happen, blah blah blah, and it's over. And you're okay, 4D chess, I guess.
So when you were watching the movie, you were just expecting 4D chess, and then suddenly Arrow takes Carlisle's head off.
And it's what the fuck?
It's so good.
Carlisle
It's
was the
so-
best character.
Yeah, no, they knew killing Carlisle would be the absolute best choice to break the audience's heart and
then,
make
like,
all
Alex
of the
and Jasper.
and make all of the vampires go
the
berserk.
fight scene gets to be as crazy as it wants to be.
And it's like
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
full,
it's
like,
crazy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
awesome.
absolutely amazing.
I knew that there was a big climactic fight scene in the final Twilight movie, and I kept thinking, even right up to the moment that it was happening, that it was not going to live up to my that was going to be
it
gold.
exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And then when they revealed that it didn't actually happen, it doesn't feel like a cheat. It feels like, oh, that perfectly makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
And
you
it makes
showed us
sense,
what
like,
would have
oh,
happened.
And it makes sense why Oro, after seeing that, would immediately back down.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy who
I know I'm going to lose.
he's a guy who loves power but is afraid of risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking Dawn Part 2 is awesome.
Breaking Dawn Part 2 is unironically
We'll
great.
talk about it more in depth
With story. But we wanted to give you a chance to give your opinion.
Well, Story was more of a book purist, right?
Yeah,
That's what she was
I
describing.
think that'll give us an interesting
So we'll get
perspective.
some interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas you watch these movies like every month or something.
Yeah.
It seems like
It sounds like every time you're like thinking about a movie to watch, it's a 50-50 chance if it's going to be
Twilight?
something new or Twilight.
Yeah. No, because, like, it's a comfort movie for me.
No, I totally understand that. We all have comfort movies.
And I get it now.
Yeah.
I understand Twilight.
It's
I
like
don't know if it's going to become a comfort movie for me, but I definitely could see myself like doing an annual. Hey guys, let's do a Twilight party.
I would watch Breaking Dawn Part 2. I would watch the Breaking Dawn movies.
Yeah.
Jack wants to watch them, so we may end up watching them again with him.
Good.
Because him and Alyssa left after Eclipse.
But you know what we probably won't be watching again? You'll find out when we do the exorcism.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Bye!
Well,
Are we doing an exorcism?
we're not doing it right now.
No, we're not doing it right now.
I mean, you brought the sword, but we're not doing it right now. We're going to introduce our next guest an hour into the video.
Transition. I'm glad you remembered that because I sure didn't. Now we're back at Kirk's magically through the power of transition.
Wow!
And we have a new person stuck in between us. It's a tradition at this point that the guest just sits in the middle.
That's a horrible tradition.
Was Luke sitting in the middle when we had him on?
I think so.
So now we're gonna talk with Story about Twilight.
Now, Story, you have, I think, a slightly different
you have some different
history with Twilight than Lauren.
I have a long and sordid history with Twilight.
Because Lauren was more of a movie fan that I think went back and read the books.
Mm-hmm.
You were a book fan.
Oh yeah, I was.
Who kind of hated the movies because they weren't accurate to the books.
Yes, I was like on the cusp of Twilight. I was like reading the books as they came out, practically from the first book.
I remember, the only time I ever remember being like, I remember making fun of you for being like lol Twilight gay was we were at Disney World and you were reading the Twilight book.
Probably. I don't even remember that, but probably. I read the first Twilight book at least a dozen times.
In case we didn't establish it earlier, they're siblings, although honestly you can probably tell.
We look
from
identical.
energies.
Yeah, all of us,
Zanetti energy.
yeah, all of us
Zanetti
with Zanettis look exactly alike and have the exact same chaotic energy.
I have literally seen a picture of Kirk before where he was like only part of his face, and I went, I don't remember being in that picture, which is humiliating. But yes, I read the books as they were coming out. Over and over and over again. Every time a new book would come out, I'd like reread all of the other ones before I would reread it.
And Kirk tells me you haven't actually seen Breaking Dawn Part 2.
I have now seen Breaking Dawn Part 2. I hadn't because, as Kirk was saying, I was obsessed with the books, and then the first Twilight movie came out, and I despised it because it wasn't identical to the book in every way. So I was like, well, they're actually trying on a different colored dress in the shopping scene, and they should have had the same colored dress as they did in the book.
How do you feel about the first movie now that you rewatched it?
I mean, now I'm significantly less mad about the things that they changed. changed.
Yeah.
I still think
In
that the
part
first
because
movie-
you've grown up to not be like such a book literalist.
Yes.
And also because fuck Stephanie Meyer.
Yes, that too. 1000%. I like the movie a lot more now than I did back then, which is weird because I like Twilight as a property a lot less than I did back then. But now I am able to look at the movie as like its own
I mean,
thing.
I kind of think the movies in general are more fun the less, like, seriously you're like,
Yes,
oh,
absolutely. The least fun way to enjoy the movies is to be more obsessed with the Twilight books than you've been obsessed with anything in your entire life, and then go try and watch the movies, which is what I did when the movies first came out. And so I watched the first Twilight movie, which came out the same year that Breaking Dawn came out. And that was sort of like...
Oh, the book Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, the book Breaking Dawn came out. That was kind of the, like, climax of my Twilight obsession after I read Breaking Dawn and saw the
To be
first
fair,
Twilight
that's
movie.
also the last Twilight book. So.
Yes. It was the last Twilight book. It was garbage. I saw the movie. I hated it. I was also entering high school at that point.
So when we talked with Lauren, we mostly talked about the first 3 movies.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to kind of save the last 2 to go into a little more with you. We talked a little bit with her about
Yeah, we let Lauren give her piece on the movies.
Fair.
And we would comment slightly on it.
So you were watching the first one with us, and then you went to go do other things.
Yes.
Yeah,
Did you come back for the last one?
Yes. I came back for Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Okay.
So I watched Breaking Dawn Part 1 with you guys, which I had already seen Breaking Dawn Part 1. That's the last
And
one
then you
I
watched
saw.
Breaking Dawn Part 2 on your own.
Yes, then I watched Breaking Dawn Part 2 on my own, the first time I'd ever seen it, watching it like 10 years late.
How did you feel about it?
I was honestly, like, pleasantly surprised in a lot of ways, because, once again, Breaking Dawn as a book is so garbage that there was honestly nowhere you could go that was worse from the book Breaking Dawn, making movies about it. I did think, I have a lot of criticisms about both the content and the movie making of both Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2. I think in Part 2, they made a lot of choices that made it a little bit more cinematic and made it feel more like a movie, because Twilight books...
The battle scene.
Well,
We've
talked about this.
We talked a little bit
where,
about
like,
the battle scene with Lauren, but we can really...
Well, I was gonna say, like, we talked about the general structure of Twilight books in the last episode, where we quickly learned that the Twilight formula is 2 acts of setup, and then all of the action in the 3rd act.
Yes, which is a terrible format for any book or any movie, and it made Breaking Dawn Part 1 especially boring.
Breaking Dawn Part 1 is not... like.
It's not a movie.
And Breaking Dawn Part 2 is all
I'm
climax.
sad you left before we got to Breaking Dawn Part 2, where we were... Because the
We became
unironically
That's where we got invested in the story.
Well, it's one of the, like... One, there's an actual plot, because the Twilight books only have a plot in, the last act. And so when you split it in half, and you have the second half
you
of
have
the
one
book,
movie that's boring, and one movie that's, like, fun.
And let's look at an actual plot that's happening. And they even, like, because, like, speaking of the battle, like, they changed a lot of stuff to make that standoff be more actually dramatic and interesting.
Let's go. We shall now go through and talk about both Breaking Dawn movies in as much detail as I can remember.
I remember a lot of detail.
Okay, so the first Breaking Dawn movie opens up with Jacob continuing his downward slide into assholeness.
By this point, Jacob's
running into the forest, turning into a wolf. Because Bella's getting married to Edward, and he can't be bothered to be at his best friend's wedding.
The first 30 minutes of Breaking Dawn are that wedding.
There's one really cool dream sequence where it's really horror.
That is
a lot of horror, a lot of fucked up horror imagery with Bella and Edward standing on a pile
it's
of
this
corpses.
dream of them standing on a pile of other vampire corpses as evil vampire rulers. That doesn't really matter.
It's also wild because it really makes it seem like Bella does not want to get married to Edward. The first 10 minutes
it makes it seem like she's trapped in this
which is honestly, in my head headcanon the truth. But like they spend like 10 minutes on
but the
it.
actual text of the story
Bella
is like
the Bella they portray
is
in the
horny
movies
on Maine
does
and
does
Yeah.
horny on Maine and obsessed with vampires.
Yeah, it's like we're supposed to believe that this actually is, you know, her fantasy come true. But they're showing it like she's having these horrible visions of murdering people, and
Like
she
people
looks
she
like she
cares
wants
about.
to bolt at the
Yes.
wedding. Before she starts walking down the aisle, she straight up looks like she wants to run away.
None of those visions or any of that like really come into play.
No.
No, they're just padding out the runtime because
Yeah.
the first half of Breaking Dawn
You
doesn't
know what else is
apply.
padding out the runtime? Wolf drama.
Wolf
drama.
That also pads out
Okay,
the
let's
runtime
just-
of the book.
Okay, let's cut right to the chase. There is after Bella and Edward have sex and
Yes.
end up having
A demon pregnancy.
a demon pregnancy, and the wolves have an argument about what to do about the baby, and it is one of the worst. It might be the worst scene in all of Twilight.
But it's also one of the probably the funniest scene in that movie. Jacob.
totally unintentionally.
Yes.
Totally
Because-
unintentionally.
Because it's supposed to be dramatic.
So Jacob runs off into the woods, transforms into a wolf, goes and meets with the other wolves who are having a meeting about what to do about the demon.
This child is dangerous.
So,
we must be destroyed.
Nowhere else in all 5 of these movies do they have the wolves talk in wolf
No,
form.
they're telepathic, which means we
Yeah.
don't hear them talk.
But for some reason, in this scene,
Just this scene,
I
not
actually-
even in the rest of the movie.
I do have a reason for it. It's a bad reason.
What is the reason?
So in Breaking Dawn the book, Stephanie Meyer wrote the wedding through the honeymoon from Bella's perspective, like all of the other books were.
and then
written
it
from.
switches to Jacob's
And then it switches to
perspective.
Jacob's
That's
perspective.
What Lauren
Because
told us.
because Stephanie Meyer was like, Bella's pregnancy would be too horrific for the reader to see.
Yeah, that's what Lauren was joking about. when
So
we were
Stephanie
watching.
Meyer was straight up like, okay, we're switching to Jacob's perspective for the first time in the entire book series. We're
Yes.
taking another character's perspective.
And why
This
is
has
it
never happened
Jacob's
before.
perspective?
And
Of
it's
all
Jacob's
perspectives,
perspective.
it's Jacob.
Like
So-
Jacob, who's already irrelevant by this point. And
Yeah.
this is a desperate attempt to make him still.
Bella has already married, been
Fucked,
impregnated
and-
by,
yeah.
fucked, and is going to become a vampire from Edward.
But now we have to have Jacob's point of view.
Yeah.
And so, because the wolves are telepathic, and now we're in Jacob's point of view, this is the first time that we're seeing a telepathic wolf conversation.
This still does not explain why the directors made the brilliant decision
Oh, no, it doesn't.
to have a scene full of CGI wolves all talk like they're actually growling. Just incomprehensible
So bad.
exposition, yelling dialogue.
Also, this is taking place at a lumber mill in the middle of the day.
CGI Jungle Book scene, live action
Yes.
Jungle Book scene, live
It's-
action Jungle Book.
There is actually no reason why they couldn't just be in human form to have that conversation.
This is-
There's no
Just
reason.
And this
these
is the-
giant
this is
CG
the-
wolves yelling at each
And
other.
this is the worst the wolves look in any of the movies.
They look so bad.
Like, they normally look pretty good.
Well,
But these
because-
scenes, they look
Because
terrible.
normally they're never animating more than 2 or 3 wolves at a
Yeah.
time, and if they are, it's done in shadow. This scene is
or
in broad
it's
daylight.
in hyperspeed.
Yes.
but yeah, they were focusing on the wolves a lot.
The wolves were the only thing in this scene.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it was
They're
it's just
the
this-
only thing in like half the movie.
Yeah,
Jacob's point
this
of view.
wolf subplot keeps lingering throughout the movie, and it never gets interesting.
No,
it's just kind
it's-
of like, why are we?
Also, adding another notch on the fuck Jacob list. He shows up like I think kind of blitzed at the reception for the wedding.
yeah, at the wedding.
To have a dance with
And then
Jacob,
his
to have a
friends
dance
have to,
with Bella,
talk him down.
because like
Being assholes.
that's like Edward's present to Bella or
Yep.
whatever.
That Jacob shows up to dance with her.
But then he gets super pissy because he's like, "You're gonna have sex when you're human."
it's like,
and his
it's
friends
horrible to watch.
deadass
It's
have to
horrible
like
watch.
take him
Yeah,
by
his
the
friends
arms.
have to drag him off.
Okay, I'm convinced Jacob not become the alpha of the tribe because he chose to. He didn't become the alpha of the tribe because he's a beta bitch.
I mean, yes. Accurate. Oh god.
They just tell him.
Jacob,
They just tell him he could have been but chose not to make him feel better.
Massage his ego.
Yeah.
Like, no, Jacob, you're totally like the real alpha. You're just gonna like sit out because you want to, not because none of us like you.
Yeah.
But funny.
And then
Thank you.
Well, me, Lauren. Well, we all were talking about how like a better version of the wolf storyline would have been they wait to see if the baby is born, and then
Oh yeah, it is.
and then if it is, and then if they find out Fate gets a demon, they go into battle mode on the spot.
But
Like
instead-
this is a group of like people who for centuries
Were peaceful.
have
These are
been
like-
peaceful. They have been willing to work with their sworn enemy
Like they
in
don't.
order to preserve the peace.
They've been they technically yeah.
Native American, awkward Native American white people metaphor.
Okay, but regardless of the awkward metaphor, they have both been willing to work together and even bend the treaty a little bit to the needs of the situation.
Yeah, like way more so, frankly, than the vampires.
Yeah.
The werewolves have been extremely like respectful of the treaty.
Which is funny
and
because in the movie,
treaty.
the werewolves are also assholes to the vampires for no real reason.
I know, it's really
And the vampires
like,
are just like, oh hi guys.
like when you consider that it's this like
Native
American tribe who are kind of being like forcibly turned into werewolves by the presence of the vampires.
It's not even like their choice or anything, or like a sacred ritual.
They just all universal.
Like we see in later in Breaking Dawn Part 2, they just like you're just walking in the woods and you turn into a werewolf because of vampires nearby.
Yep, and it's like. And that actually, like, we're jumping around a lot, but like in the Breaking Dawn Part 2, I feel like they don't like dwell on how horrific it is. That they're like, yeah, we're bringing all of these vampires here to Forks to witness so that the Volturi don't kill my baby.
Don't worry, they'll go away peacefully.
But like
They'll
all
go
of
away
these other
peacefully.
all of these other werewolves are being turned into werewolves, and they're showing like a 10-year-old kid being like becoming a werewolf because of the presence of all of
scene
these.
in the movie?
It was.
I don't remember.
I don't remember him being.
Child.
I don't remember him being 10, but I remember him like looking like he was
He
supposed
looked
to be
so
movie
young.
14.
He looked so young, and I was like, "Is that that's a child? That's not even a teenager. That's a child that just got turned into a werewolf."
The werewolf
because the colors have
vampire
to bring
dynamic is
vampires
fucked.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Especially
bad.
in Eclipse, where there's like a backstory to them that makes
Yeah.
it more fun. I guess now is
So
a good time to
fucked.
say that we didn't like Eclipse.
No,
I know
we
you
didn't
said that
like
was the best
Eclipse.
one. I feel like that was
We really
pointless.
disliked it.
What
What was the point?
Eclipse is good.
Eclipse? What?
What was
Lauren
good
agrees.
about it?
We don't
Okay.
understand.
So, first of all, imagine that you don't even have an inkling in your mind that Breaking Dawn exists. So Breaking Dawn is not even a twinkle in your father's eye yet. And you're reading Twilight. Victoria kind of seems like the overarching big bad. She's in the first book. The Volturi are not mentioned in the first book. We have no idea the Volturi even exist in the
They're
first
in. They're in
book.
the second.
They are in the second, but they're not. They don't come into the second until the last
Yeah.
like 20 pages
I
of the
think
book.
that-
or
which is
something.
so-
For us, the problem was that we were so immediately more interested in the Volturi than we were in Victoria.
That like then when we realized,
Oh,
they're
it
gonna
was
be
like,
back
oh,
in
God,
Breaking
no.
Dawn.
But that's
we're gonna
why
be like,
you gotta
awesome.
roll your mind back a little bit
Yeah.
and imagine, like, 11-year-old story reading the first Twilight book. Victoria is like, she got away. We don't know what's gonna happen. And then in New Moon, nothing happens. And then suddenly the Volturi are there at like the last, very, 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 very last minute.
We also talked about this with Lauren that I think Eclipse is probably one of the like.
It's
we
think it's the worst.
I think it's the worst adapted movie, but I can see watching it that I'm like, this probably isn't the worst one in the books. It's just not adapted very well.
That's fair.
Uh,
And also, like, part of it too is that Eclipse has the most like actual plot of any of them, because once again, Victoria at this point in time is kind of the overarching big bad. Because I didn't even, like, as a reader, I wasn't even sure the Volturi were coming back yet.
Okay.
Like, when they came in New Moon, and Edward is literally like, yeah, they say they're going to check up on us, but this is the Volturi. They might not check up on us for a couple hundred years. So, like, like after New Moon, it's like I don't really actually know if the Volturi are coming back. And then in Eclipse, it's like you have this weird vampire army that's being created. Like Victoria's back finally for like the big showdown. We're also finally resolving
Bryce Dallas Howard this time.
Well, we're also finally resolving the love triangle because the love triangle like between Edward, Bella, and Jacob really gets resolved in Eclipse. And then just gets
honestly
kind of like,
it gets resolved by the end of New Moon.
See, that's
when Bella is like, I
that's
choose
we
Edward.
were having is I was like, okay, the love triangle already feels resolved by the end of New Moon, and I want to see the. So I was just waiting for the next set of movies where the Volturi were in and the romance was resolved, and so Eclipse just felt
like an in between.
A book reader's perspective was good because I feel like within the books, Eclipse probably makes more sense.
because once again,
but within the movies, it feels like a filler movie.
When you're reading the books, you don't know. I mean, fun fact: Breaking Dawn is supposedly the, or not supposedly. Stephanie Meyer claims the original sequel to Twilight. She like started writing Breaking Dawn.
That makes sense because it's like it's a big time jump.
Yeah, and like.
It's also like, imagine if Jacob was just not in this series, you wouldn't need New Moon, and you kind of wouldn't need Eclipse.
You would just jump straight to Breaking Dawn. So Breaking Dawn was the original sequel to Twilight, but as a book reader, you've read Twilight, you've read New Moon, and then Eclipse comes out. At that point, because you don't know what's going to happen after that, it does feel like almost a like cohesive trilogy of like Twilight. The romance is introduced, Victoria's introduced as a character, she disappears into the ether and she's a mystery to be solved. New Moon, the love triangle's introduced. It's like, it's resolved because frankly it was never actually a love triangle because Bella never actually
that was another thing that made Eclipse hard, was that Jacob is...
There's a great shot in New Moon of Jacob and what's-his-face like both putting their arm on an armrest in a movie theater. And like Bella is stuck in between them.
Mike Newton,
it's a genuinely great shot.
Yeah,
it's
we talked about it in the first section of the video. That it's like Jack was looking at us, looking at me like, this is like something out of an actual comedy.
You compared it to Edgar Wright?
I compared it to an Edgar Wright shot.
I mean, it is. It's a funny shot, and it's horribly awkward, and it makes me hate Jacob even more. But part of it is that like Stephanie Meyer really thought she did something. She's a horrible writer, and she really thought she did something. With
she thought it was a debate, and it's not.
And she spent so much energy in Eclipse. I'm not remembering how much of it even translated into the movie. I think not a lot of it, honestly. But like, she spent so much energy in Eclipse trying to make us think that Bella was actually considering Jacob as an option.
See, the movie
doesn't even try.
So the movie spends a ton of energy reminding us that Jacob is there and should be considered, but it doesn't show Bella actually considering.
Yeah, and all it does is provide more evidence. Like, oh yeah, Edward is the good choice between these two.
I feel like Eclipse, the movie, was made knowing that Breaking Dawn would come next, and so they didn't make it satisfying.
So they were just like, who gives a shit? This is the filler story in between New Moon and Breaking Dawn. Just rush it out.
Yeah.
And like, I will say, there's this scene in the movie, and I brought this up when you were watching the movie because this scene haunts me.
Breaking Dawn Part 1?
No, in Eclipse.
Yeah.
And this scene haunts me to this day. But it's the scene where Bella is making out with Jacob to like stop him from going and doing something stupid. In the book, because we've got Bella's internal monologue, she fully goes into this whole like existential thought process while she's making out with him, where she's like, try and make yourself enjoy it. Really picture what your life would be like with him. Picture you having children with him. Picture you growing old with him. Really, really think about it. She like goes into this whole spiral where she's trying to like fully actualize what a life with Jacob would be like, so that when she finally rejects it, she's like, I did it. I thought about what it would be like. I tried to make myself want it. I still want Edward. It's horrific.
That is so horrific.
It's like the most horrifying thing I've ever read.
Jacob gets cucked so hard.
She's like standing there, and Edward wants her to do it too because Edward's a fucking weirdo. And Edward's like, no, Bella, do think about what it would be like to be with Jacob.
That tracks with Edward being an asshole who's like, stop dating me.
Stop dating me while I actively date you.
They did change that scene in the movie though to where he doesn't walk up until she's like basically pulling away from the kiss already.
Yeah.
So like
he's still cool with it because he's like,
no,
he's like, I know, I don't give a shit. I know Jacob's an idiot who probably made you kiss him.
Yeah.
Which he did earlier in the movie. In fact, make Bella kiss him because he's like,
that was a funny scene where she punches him and her hand breaks.
I do. That's maybe my favorite scene in all of Twilight.
What a weird comedic like break in the
sexual assault, broken hand.
Oh.
Oh god.
Well, no, it's not just.
Well, because you know, in that situation, like Bella, if Bella had any power, she would be in complete control.
It's not just that she punches him and then breaks her hand. It's that she goes ow afterward like shit, and the like whatever music was playing in the back like
cuts out. Yeah,
it's played like a Marvel joke. It's played like a Marvel joke.
And it's
in the middle.
Jacob just like assaulting Bella.
It's so like right after Jacob does that, like it's like
oh
what?
my god.
What's happening?
That is like straight up though one of my favorite things because for like once in her entire life Bella is making an active decision about something that she wants when she's like, no, I didn't want you to kiss me and punch you.
And this is why I like when she finally becomes a vampire, she just immediately like actually
you imprinted on my daughter. Say what you want about like the like weird grooming implications throughout the whole storyline.
Yes.
But like this is something Bella has wanted since the end of the first Twilight movie, and to see her finally living her best life.
Since the middle of the first Twilight.
Since the middle of the first Twilight movie.
I actually think this is a strength of Kristen Stewart's performance, is that I fully believe that Bella, there was never like a doubt in my mind. Like, she made me believe that Bella wanted to be a vampire and wasn't just being tricked into wanting to be a vampire.
And like...
And I think that's a strength of the performance and not the writing.
The writing doesn't...
The writing
doesn't support that.
Well, because Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson are good actors. We've said before, Jacob is a CW actor.
Yeah, fair enough.
But to be fair, Jacob is written like a CW character.
Taylor Lautner moment.
Shirtless. So Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are trying to get the most out of this rancid material, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep.
And whereas Jacob is just standing there shirtless in the middle of the street, like basically T-posing.
It cannot be stated enough. Edward is a 100-year-old vampire grooming a teenage girl to be his girlfriend and just emotionally abusing her constantly, and it's horrible. But it is like the amount of like visceral, even watching the movies this time, like as like, you know,
like if you remove Edward from the situation and Bella just coincidentally through a different circumstance became a vampire, that'd be such a great moment.
The amount of catharsis that I feel when it's like finally she gets to be a vampire.
Like there's that big opening scene of like her running through the woods, like climbing trees.
See, now we're just talking about Breaking Dawn Part 2. We didn't finish talking about Part 1.
We completely cut out the baby.
Talking about Part 1.
We basically talked about everything important except for the baby.
Except for the baby's horror movie birth.
We have to talk about the heavy pro-life.
Oh, right.
We don't want to, but we must.
So, Stephanie Meyer is Mormon, and it's very, very clear in the way that she writes the Twilight books.
Yes.
Particularly in
suddenly the introduction of the possibility of family turns every woman into wife.
And every woman into wife and mother. Frankly, every woman in Twilight was already wife and mother. Rosalie's one of Rosalie's like defining characteristics is that she's upset that she can't have kids because she's a vampire, which is like.
But bitch, adopt.
Also, this is a woman who was gang raped and murdered, and she's like, I'm just upset that I can't have babies. And it's like, what?
Yeah. we really liked like
I liked
the
her
twist of her like
backstory, but I didn't
yeah.
like. But it is weird.
She's
that
still
with
just
that,
kind of a boring character.
Yeah, it's a shame that they use that backstory for the I'm sad I can't have kids.
Like,
Yeah.
I love Rosalie.
Like, what if that was
I
like
think that
Esme's?
she's-
Like, what if that was like Esme's backstory or something?
Esme is also a nothing character, so I
Yeah.
Esme's Carlisle's wife,
Esme
right?
is Carlisle's wife and the Cullens'
Yeah.
mom.
But at least she's like,
The character that I forgot
she's
existed
a fun character to have around sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that almost
I don't
every
know.
woman in Twilight is
Alice
horribly
is
overwritten.
the only.
Alice
Yeah,
is the only
Alice
good
is the only woman in Twilight.
She's
that's
not. She's the only one that's not wife mother.
No.
Like, Bella is just a
No, her
aspiring
and Jasper
wife
are
mother.
just swingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, her and Jasper are just swingers. Like, Rosalie is just sad she cannot be a mother. Esme is just actively being a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
Like, Alice is the only one who doesn't actually seem to want to be a wife and a mother, and she is still a wife, technically,
True.
because she is
Technically,
married
true.
to Jasper.
It's hard. It's easy to forget that because she like looks like she's like in her 20s.
Also, her and Jasper don't really act like married couple.
No.
They act like dating couple.
They act like they act like they straight up act like dating couple with an open relationship.
They
Yeah.
do, which is awesome, and I love that.
I feel like they
Yeah.
probably do have an open relationship.
Well, I'm
like,
assuming every vampire fucks every
Yeah.
other vampire.
Yeah.
There's no way that Carlisle was not drowning in Vussy before.
I mean, this is-
he married Esme.
this is how I choose to headcanon it, and Carlisle has 1000% fucked Charlie, and Charlie and Esme are in a beautiful poly relationship.
Carlisle and Charlie, the only two good dads.
As they should
the
be.
good dads.
Like, certainly Stephanie.
It's
Meyer
crazy that
would
Charlie is the only good dad,
combust.
and he's also a cop and was like pro Jacob for like 4 movies.
Remember when Jacob showed up to Charlie's house in Breaking Dawn Part 1 and transformed into a wolf
Yep.
to be like,
Oh,
hey,
God, yeah.
there's supernatural shit going on. I'm not going to tell you about any of it. I'm just going to tell you that Bella's involved.
That's actually in part 2.
Was that in part
Yeah.
2?
Because
God,
nothing
nothing
happens
happened.
Nothing can happen in part 1 except for
Except-
baby.
Let's just talk about the horrific baby.
Okay,
Let's get to
yes.
the baby.
She's-
Because that can
Bella
also
is-
let us get to the pro-life thing.
Yeah.
Bella is horror pregnancy.
She is pregnant with a baby that is actively draining her life away.
Actively killing her. Her own doctor thinks it's actively killing her. And somehow, despite the fact that Bella is literally in a life-threatening pregnancy, Edward still is the asshole for being like, you have to abort this baby.
Yeah. Well, we talked about like how it's not even pro-life versus it's like
It's pro-death versus pro-choice.
Yeah, because like Bella, like no one besides like Carlisle, I would argue.
Carlisle is the only
He
person.
stays out of the
Yeah,
debate.
he stays out of
He
the
goes
debate.
doctor
He
mode
does.
and
He
doesn't
does.
get
He
involved.
goes Dr. Bone, and he's like, whatever you do. I will try to accomplish to the best of my ability.
But so like Carlisle is pro-choice. Every other character is like, I'm trying to make a decision for you, Bella.
Yeah.
And
Even
like,
Alice is kind of
It's,
like.
it's,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
either make a decision
But
to
at
keep it
least
or make a
but
decision to
at
be
least she
yeah.
stays somewhat based where it's like once Bella decides, she just goes along with it.
yeah, like Edward is just straight up being like,
Yeah.
And Jacob too.
Jacob too.
Oh my
This is
God.
The
okay.
fact that the one thing they agree on is we gotta get rid of this baby.
By this point, Jacob. So Jacob's there at the Colon house to like guard it from the wolves. He just kind of sticks around with the Colons for the next 2 movies. Like, why are you even here anymore?
No, what? Like me and
reason.
Suri talked about this. We think that like we said at like when you imprinted on my daughter scene happens and Bella sends Jacob packing in the woods, all of the Collins were like, so your friendship is over with Jacob, right? Oh, thank God we never liked that asshole.
Yeah, like they don't like him,
like
right?
nobody
Why is
likes
he there?
Jacob. Like
Not even Pete, not even his tribe likes Jacob.
and like eventually, even Edward gets on board with the pregnancy because now he can read the baby's thoughts, and he doesn't trust Bella's decisions, but he does trust the baby's decisions, which is fucking.
That's fucking weird. That is an entire landmine. That's not a landmine. That's a minefield.
But like at that point, literally everyone, like once Bella's drinking blood because that's what she has to do to not die with this pregnancy.
And
to be fair,
that's
the
No, that's
or
not
not
how she becomes
exactly,
a vampire.
but she becomes a.
well, no, because while she is in that process of giving birth, she basically dies or her heart stops. So that Edward uses a basically an adrenaline shot of vampire venom
straight to
her heart.
Which honestly, I always thought was kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
No. We said that like actually that's really that's clearly what Carlisle planned. That's like Carlisle being like, okay, so here's the backup plan. We will have pre-prepared venom, and we will put it directly in her.
That's also the part of the movie that Lauren liked when we were talking to her, because it's
say what you will about
horror movie pregnancy that's kind of fun.
And they really emphasize the horror of it because she gets so gaunt, like she becomes a skeleton basically.
Yeah. It's not R-rated horror, but it's like
it's as close as you can get to R-rated
in a PG-13 movie.
In a PG-13 movie.
And it's horrific. The baby has to be like torn out of Bella. Like because the embryo is
like
really
she gets her back broken.
Yeah, I don't know if they mentioned that in the movie, but the embryo is hard.
Oh, the embryo.
It's like vampire skin. It's hard.
Shit.
So they can't cut it open with a scalpel. That's why Edward has to like rip it out of her with his teeth.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't really touch on that because Carlisle was out of the room at that point.
We get more details even about the pregnancy in the book, it's wild.
That's probably which is weird because Lauren didn't really like that movie, aside from the horror pregnancy stuff.
Because aside from the horror pregnancy,
there's nothing there.
Nothing going
there's
on.
a really shitty fight scene between the werewolves and the vampires in the middle of the night that looks terrible.
Breaking Dawn Part 1 is the only Twilight movie that doesn't have like a fun fight scene at the end. It has a mid-fight scene at the end.
And then Jacob imprints on Renesmee.
That's how the wolf conflict
is solved. The wolves they can't attack someone who's the tribe has imprinted on, so they're okay with the baby now. But in their heads they're like, really, Jacob? It had to be the baby. Of all the people, it had to be the baby.
We already went over how stupid the baby plotline is when we were with Lauren. So
and we've gone over it again here.
But it does.
You imprinted on my daughter.
It wasn't my choice.
She's a baby.
Oh god, it is the most horrific thing that's ever happened to me personally.
The thing is that it's so funny in the movie.
It's funny because part 1 ends with that happening and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then part 2 begins with her blowing up Jacob.
They get that out of the way because they know that's going to be a sword of Damocles hanging over their head.
Yeah. Because it's the worst thing ever. Also, cannot be under stressed. Jacob goes into that room to kill that baby.
Oh,
Jacob is going there to murder
and then at that
baby.
moment he imprints. Oh my god.
Imprints, and then the only thing that is tethering him to this world is Renesmee.
Yeah.
Just like how before the only thing tethering him to this world was
they say the imprinting isn't romance, but then why does he stop simping for Bella the second that he imprints on Renesmee?
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
And why does he make that joke about like?
It broke my ring.
And then why does he make that joke about? Does that mean I have to call you daddy now to Edward?
God. At the end
because everybody knows it's actually
I just love that
everybody knows. You can't fool us, Stephanie. You can't fool us.
Okay, that joke, do you have to call you dad thing? It's like at the latter half of Breaking. I think it's like the end of part 2.
Yeah, it's the end of part 2.
Edward's reaction to it is so funny too. He just makes this,
he's not smiling. He's not like laughing. He's like, don't push your luck. He is straight up like, if you say that again, you have 5 seconds and then I'm chasing you down.
He's making this face like, this idiot, this dumbass.
He's like, I can't believe.
Why do we tolerate you again?
I can't believe I have to put up with this asshole if I want to keep the peace of the werewolves.
Jacob exists to make Edward look good. Again, I think I said that in the last.
Which is crazy because like when we were watching the first movie, we were like, oh, Jacob's there to be to be Bella's way out, kind of.
And then
instead they just like absolutely nerf Jacob's character to make
it was fun. His nerfing was funny in New Moon because he was just being Giga Chad. a Chad running around shirtless in the
You
forest.
weren't watching that one with us, but like New Moon was the one.
New Moon might still be our favorite, ironically.
New Moon was the funniest. Breaking Dawn Part 2 was the one that
we were unironically interested in that, and we actually liked it.
Speaking of Breaking Dawn Part 2.
So yeah. After the imprinting thing, things go pretty well for like I guess a few months to maybe a year.
Yeah, no, a few months. It's just
we're on
a few
Part
months
2 now.
Yeah.
They get through.
Renesmee is growing at a rapid rate.
Yeah, well, first Bella wakes up, meets her baby, finds about the imprint, bones Edward a ton.
But they build
a fuck cabin.
They build a fuck cabin in the woods.
I forgot about the fuck. And
it's not even implied. They say they have built multiple fuck cabins for other vampires to use.
Actually, in the book, I think it's just the one fuck cabin that everybody uses. And they just rotate through the fuck cabin.
How did they not destroy it?
They just remodel it.
No, that's full because they build it in the movie, so they have destroyed it in the past.
Yeah.
Like. It is just
we made jokes about how Bella is now that Bella has the vampire strength. She can embrace her true dom top energy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Edward is hella into it too.
Yeah.
Bella is so. That is one of the things that I like about Bella becoming a vampire.
That's what I think makes you like ignore the weird implications of it. Because that vampire Bella is like badass and like happy with her power.
She's like strong, she's confident, she likes herself, she likes, what she's like, she likes where she is in her life.
All the things she did
She's no longer a minor, so at least even though there is a huge age gap, at least she has some degree of agency.
There's a huge age gap, and Edward actively groomed her for years.
Yeah.
But at least now she's an adult and she has agency and she's confident and she's Okay, when you're talking about Twilight, you have to just kind of like
you
acknowledge how fucked everything is.
You either acknowledge nothing or you have to acknowledge everything.
Yeah. But like the scene of her running in the forest and like discovering her powers is like from that point on I was like, yes! Finally, things are happening.
And like,
things are happening.
And like, I don't even care because they do a little bit of Mary Sue stuff with her, where she's got this supernatural control where she doesn't try to eat people, and I'm like, I don't care.
The movie doesn't really spend.
No, like if anything, they almost imply that Bella's about to go feral.
Yeah, like I don't think it's bad. I think it's like but we've just seen Bella be miserable for 3 years.
We don't need to make her life as a vampire.
Miserable is a good word. I feel like in Eclipse and Breaking Dawn Part 1, there was too much misery for me to be having fun, and then in Breaking Dawn Part 2, all the misery is gone.
There's also
the only character that's maybe miserable is Jacob, but at this point he's just
he's not even miserable anymore because he's so in love with the toddler.
He's just kind of like vibing in a creepy way.
Yeah, he's just creeping on this toddler.
He's just there.
We made jokes that he's the family pet now.
He basically their dog.
Because half of the movie he's in wolf form.
Kirk, I have to tell you this because I watched this movie very recently, and I know you did as well. He does not. He's human most of the time.
Okay, I guess gaslit myself into thinking he is in wolf form most of the time.
The reason you think what you're misremembering, what it is that every time they take him with them to meet some vampire, the vampire will always, without fail, comment on how much he stinks and smells like a dog.
Right.
That's why you're remembering, the dog.
Also, because Jacob barely speaks.
Yeah.
No, he acts like a dog.
He sits, it's like, stay in the car, son, and then,
Just hold on to the hand of this toddler you want to bone one day.
He's basically Renesmee's, support dog / babysitter.
Emotional support babysitter.
Yes, that is literally what Jacob is, which is he seems to be happier than he's ever been before, because
Jacob's life ambition, Jacob's life ambition, being a babysitter.
But that's what makes this movie is they push Jacob to the side, and nobody else is miserable.
And then the main conflict is
the Volturi.
The Volturi find out about Renesmee through one of the Cullen's cousin vampire covens.
Yes.
And
the one from Alaska.
And they've been led to believe that Renesmee.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
I didn't really care about them. I just cared about. I cared about that drama as a way to get.
Yes.
Guys, I have to tell you, I just have so much knowledge about Twilight that I have to share. But
that's what You're 4.
And Bella is like historically super jealous of the Alaskan vampires, but specifically the one that actually ends up betraying them, because previously that vampire was single, and Edward was like theoretically maybe gonna date her, because of course every single female vampire at some point, Carlisle was like, hey Edward, do you want to date her? You want to date her? And so literally
They cut all of that.
there's
out.
like there's an exchange at one point where Bella's like she's talking about this vampire's like strawberry blonde hair, and she's like, she's just really attractive because Bella's gay, and Edward's like, I prefer brunettes. It's gross.
Oh my god.
It's gross.
See, I actually wish they kept that weird tension between the two of them, because as it stands, it feels like that in the movie, it feels like that character is an asshole for no reason.
Yes.
And the Colons are just like, why are you being so mean to us? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, her reason is that she fell in love with Laurent.
Yeah.
Who
They explain it.
They explain it. They
It's
just
just
explain
bad.
it very
They
poorly.
explain it in a throwaway scene during the wedding in Breaking Dawn Part 1, and then when she comes back later, you're like, oh right, this
like you
have
have to recognize her.
Yeah.
This woman we've seen twice before.
but she really only matters as a means to the end. And
Yeah.
And you
Well,
also
'cause
have
they-
to
'cause-
remember Laurent, who died in
in movie 1.
In New
No,
Moon, like a chump.
The only reason I do remember Laurent is that in the movies he's the one black vampire.
And his
He's
actor
played
does
by
a really good job
like
with
a good
the
yeah.
zero amount of
Yeah.
material he's given.
Well, I've seen that actor in another show, and in that other show, he is also playing a character that on paper isn't much, but like his performance is like
his performance
he's
as
good at
Laurent
playing
is really
suave
good.
villains. It's a shame that Laurent is a nothing character, but because
he was more of an entity than the main villain of the first.
Yeah,
Twilight.
I think that's kind of. I also think that's kind of a problem with the movie adaptation specifically. Is that so? You've got Laurent.
Because the camera focuses on Laurent.
You've got
as they're coming out of the woods.
You've got Laurent, Victoria, and James. And of those 3, Laurent is the most memorable in the movie, but he's the one with the least focus.
And then it kind of goes Victoria and James, but then James is established as the villain of the first Twilight movie. So just by that nature, he overtakes Victoria in importance. And then once James dies, and you're like, oh, Victoria's a woman scorned.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we didn't really care about James.
It was a woman scorned for like 30 bucks.
I feel like this isn't a problem. That isn't a problem in the books.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's like, I don't care about those two as much. Why are they focused?
Why
on Laurent in the back?
And part of that is like with the visuals, because it is described in the books that Laurent is like posing as the leader of their group, even though James is the real leader. But because you don't have that sort of strong visual of Laurent being the only black vampire, because Stephanie Meyer does not want black vampires.
The movie also doesn't really lean into he's posing as the leader.
Yeah,
like,
he just
actually is
He
the
just
leader.
acts like the leader, but he can't control his 2 goonies.
And so like because of the way that the visuals work in the movie, you like literally don't even remember that James and Victoria are there, other than that Victoria has very red hair.
Yeah.
So it's like in the book it's a little bit easier because it's all happening via description.
Yes.
So when they tell you James is the threat, it's easier to sort of like
Right. That makes sense.
Whereas when we were watching the movie, I saw James and I was like, okay, he looks like the idiot one that's gonna get killed first.
Well, because he's got like a dumb haircut.
He does have a very dumb haircut. Most of the people in the movies have very dumb haircuts.
But anyway, we've gone down.
Back to
we're jumping around a lot.
Well, Lorenz is important because, like as you said, the person we mated for life with, or bonded for life with, or
mated
whatever.
with was they actually like Stephanie Meyer has such a hang up on the whole like I will love you forever and nothing can ever physically change that in me, because werewolves have imprinting, and she also
vampires have mating for life.
Yeah,
even though I feel like both in the energy that they bring, but also I feel like in the canon themselves, a lot of vampires have like fucked multiple partners for like decades.
Well, the way that
centuries.
Stephanie Meyer describes it in the books is that Edward has this whole speech that he gives Bella. I don't know if it made it to the movies, where he's like, it's like vampires are unchanging. It's really, really difficult for a vampire to change. So when something does change, for instance, we fall in love with someone, that's it for us. That changes us forever, and we're never gonna.
That is not in
the
movie.
Not.
So like,
and if it is, it's like a throwaway line.
Like Stephanie Meyer is so obsessed with this whole like eternal love that you literally cannot stop loving this person no matter how much you try.
And that's what I feel like the movie maker, the people making the movie were like, fuck that, the vampires all fuck each other. And maybe they have spouses, but
like
maybe
let vampires fuck.
Yeah.
It's stupid to be like they are like deeply changed. They will never love another.
Vampires, the most monogamous cryptid.
In the movies, it comes across that the only one of them who is truly serious about this one person
is
forever
Edward.
And he's like a chump.
Because he's a Catholic.
Like he's an idiot.
Because that feels less because it's like, oh, he's a vampire, and more like, oh, he's just really religious.
Like Breaking Dawn Part 1 has this whole thing where even after they get married, he's scared, like he's still like awesome.
He's still scared to bone his wife.
Even though his wife is super into it.
Right?
His wife is so horny, and he's like, I promise I'm horny too, I'm afraid I'm gonna kill you if I bone you. I'll be too horny.
And she's like, I'm willing to take that risk.
Did you know? I honestly, I can't remember if this is canonized from Stephanie Meyer, but I choose to believe it is either way. At least a popular fan theory is that, because Edward has canonically never boned before Bella.
Yeah.
Canonically a virgin until he meets Bella. Also, he has not jacked off since he became a vampire, which is how he impregnates Bella. Because he still has the sperm that he died with.
I feel like that doesn't need to be canonized a lot, it just makes sense. Yeah, that's the reason that he was able to impregnate it to somebody and no other vampire.
Because he hasn't had sex and he hasn't jerked off in over 100 years.
Wait, does that imply that the father of that native half vampire also never jerked off?
Oh, you know what? I have just disproved my own theory because the father of that native, in the books, he's like trying to start a master race of vampires. Yes, master race is the word used. A master race of like half human, half vampires. So he's going around and impregnating loads of women. And so the guy that Alice brings is like, yeah, it's me and my like half sisters.
Bro, the half human, half vampire thing is so like thrown in at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2. Like the movie writers didn't want to like mess with that stuff.
No.
Especially because they bring out these two fucking like cartoon Native American
Probably the reason they didn't want to mess with that subplot is it sounds really like problematic.
Yeah, because
and they were just like
problematic and stupid.
Yeah,
it sounds problematic, but also stupid.
Wild
and unnecessary.
Wild that in the books, it's like, yeah, my dad is this vampire who's going around impregnating women. Surely it's consensual. I hope it's consensual every single time. Like to create a master race of half human, half vampire babies. Like, and then the Cullens are like, cool, glad to know that. Never talk to you again.
Hey,
like,
thanks for saving our baby.
Let's
well, that's a good way to get back onto.
Let's talk about
that's a good way to get back onto the main plot because the Volturi, hearing about Renesmee, think that she isn't a half vampire. They think she is an immortal child, which is a vampire who got turned as a child.
And that's
so they have all of
the most dangerous.
They have all of the power of like a newborn, new turned vampire, but none of the self-restraint that comes with being an adult.
So the Volturi have like made a decree that anyone who turns a child, anyone who makes an immortal child, the child's gotta die and you gotta die.
That's clearly just an attempt. That's all. Yeah, sorry. That is the decree. But clearly, Aro and the gang are just using that as an excuse to steal all of the good vampires from the Cullen family.
Well, for sure. So Arrow has been waiting.
Arrow is like giddy when he hears the news. He's like,
oh yeah,
ooh, I can use this to steal the Cullens.
Yeah, because Arrow wants Alice particularly because he does not have the ability to see the future, and Alice does. But he also wants Edward because Arrow has this vision in his head that he's going to be like holding hands with Alice and Edward. And
he also wants Bella because Bella can resist.
But he doesn't know that yet.
Okay, but once he finds,
I thought he knew.
Well, he knew in New Moon that she had some way of resisting the powers.
Yeah.
And then I think once he finds out, like in the big final battle, that she's a shield who can mentally cancel out other people's powers. He's like, Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goody. He's like, oh, it's like I'm a kid in a candy shop. I don't know which one to take first.
Arrow wants Bella to be turned into a vampire because he's like, you seem like you'd have a strong power if you were a vampire.
Yeah.
But Arrow literally describes this like vision he has where he's like, I'll hold hands with Alice on one side, I'll hold hands with Edward on the other side.
I don't
and then
feel
I'll
like
be
he
able
talks
to...
about that in the movie, but
That's such an RO thing to do.
And then I'll be able to
I
read...
fucking love the Voltar.
And then I'll be able to read everyone's minds all the time and see the future all of the time, and I'll be all-seeing and all-knowing, and it'll be amazing. I'll be God. So Arrow is like, he's just dying for that to be the case. And then once he finds out about Bella's powers, he's like, ooh, and I can also have a shield that just follows me around.
So the Voltari use that as an excuse to start gathering up their forces to go toward the Cullens.
And
the Cullens, upon finding
gather
out
all their vampire friends.
Yeah.
Which is
where this turns into like vampire Avengers.
It's my favorite.
Everybody gets a chance to show off like their cool power.
Rami Malek has elemental powers.
He's the Avatar. It's so cool.
There's one vampire. What's the like aggressively like British like sexy vampire?
Oh yeah, him.
Yes, his
I don't remember what his power is, but I remember he was fucking cool.
I believe I remember what his power is. I don't think they mentioned it in the movie.
He didn't even need to show his power.
In the book, Carlisle has a friend who, and I'm pretty sure it's the same character,
Okay. Yeah.
but Carlisle has a friend who Carlisle is convinced that their power is that they just sort of have the ability to like influence fate, so that whatever they want to happen is what's going to happen.
Oh, so that's why he was trying so hard to get him.
Yeah, so Carlisle and the vampire in question doesn't believe that this is his power.
Well, because that actually makes sense because that character is super.
He's
like very pessimistic.
He's a doomer.
Yeah.
But he also seems like very lucky. Like kind of like what happens to him always kind of works out.
And that's exactly what Carlisle is like. And and the vampire himself is like, he's very broody and he's like, that's not my power, you're being ridiculous. And Carlisle's like, I don't know.
See that was a dynamic I just think they didn't have time for.
I know. I kind of wish they did because
But they just kind of established him as a cool guy who's sort of a
He
doomer.
did make an impression though.
Honestly, my biggest criticism of Breaking Dawn is that I wish they had spent more time on assembling the Avengers,
right?
And like just having people show
vampire
off their
of
powers.
the
because there's that girl with taser powers.
I love her.
There's one who can like create dreamscapes.
Yeah, there's the Amazonian vampires who can like make you see visions.
Those ones were cool. Way less problematic than the ones that show up at the end of the movie.
Oh god! But so like, I wish honestly that we had gotten even more time.
And that's
with
why
just all of these fun
and that's why I like.
Yeah.
Like, even though it made Breaking Dawn Part 1 a boring movie, at least
they
gave
saved
them
all of
time
the
in
interesting,
second
exciting
one to,
stuff for the second
because
movie.
the Vampire Avengers Gathering would have been like 5 minutes if that book was one movie.
And I wanted it to be the entire movie.
I
wanted a whole movie.
It's like a good 30 minutes. It could have been an hour.
It could have been an hour.
Because the strength of this world is that most of the side characters are more interesting.
Stephanie Meyer is an incredible.
Throwing a bunch of new side characters at you is fun.
We've all said this independently at different points, but Stephanie Meyer is incredibly good at stumbling upon really interesting concepts and then never using them.
Yep.
Yeah.
She creates this world where like not only do vampires exist in the shadows, but they have interesting powers.
They have churches and powers, and like some have powers and some don't. So there's this whole power dynamic, and it's all just kind of in the background.
Yeah, until this movie.
And that's why I was into Breaking Dawn Part 2.
I was telling this to Kirk actually. One of the things that I am most upset that they left out of the movie, and they didn't totally leave it out, because when we finally get to the Cullens and the Volturi standing off against each other. In the book, it's described as like Bella reaches out her shield, and Alec has this like black mist that steals away your senses.
Yes.
And his black mist
that one was so creepy.
And like goes up her shield, and it's like this invisible bubble keeping the.
I would have liked.
Why didn't they show that graphically
That's such
during
a
the fight
that's such a cool image that's clearly meant for cinema. I don't know why they
I don't know
It
why
is
they
the
didn't
most
show that
cinematic thing Stephanie
They must
Meyer
have
has
just
ever written.
they just must have not had time. They just must have not had time to CGI that.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't want to
Because-
CGI that.
Because that sounds so cinematic.
Right,
Well, like,
because
I
it's like
feel
it's them like really flexing their powers against
Yes.
each other too.
Well, because also like it's less like that confrontation in the movie is
I
less
feel
of
like-
a let's flex powers to show how bad it could be if we go to war. Because okay, spoilers for people who maybe read the book but didn't watch the movie. They go to war.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like they were like, okay, so
We don't need
to do the smoke and the shield and spend the budget on that because we're already filming the hypothetical vampire fight.
Yeah. Which is so good. So yeah, Alice shows up to try to, at the last moment, to try to talk peace to, because she's been gone because she got visions and she's been on the look.
Alice
we don't know.
out.
We don't know this.
No idea where she went.
We don't know this yet, but she was on the look for other half vampires to just to justify not killing Renesmee on the spot.
I mean, actually, kind of a brilliant move by Alice though, because Alice pieces out and doesn't tell a single soul where she's going.
Except for Bella, whose thoughts can't be read.
Well, she only leaves a clue for Bella.
Right.
Because she can't, like, Alice cannot risk any person other than Bella knowing either potentially where Alice is going or any plans
Because the
that
villain
Alice is
can
making.
read their thoughts.
Because and not only can Arrow read your thoughts, Arrow can see every memory you've ever had.
Yeah. So if he
So like if Edward knows,
except Bella because her shield.
Except for Bella
because
of
her shield.
So if literally, and because Edward can read everybody's minds except for Bella, then if literally any person knows in the vicinity of Edward other than Bella,
and then if Arrow at any point touches Edward,
all of these characters with their mind powers are actually so OP, and they just don't talk about it.
It's like it's five. Like we joked about it being 5D chess, but it's literally 5G chess. Like
The final scene is 5D mind chess. The fight scene, and this is so cool.
Like, well, the talk before the fight scene is 5D mind chess, where they're like, Arrow is like, we're like when Arrow finds out it isn't a vampire, an immortal child, is a half vampire. He actually turns that to his advantage to be like, but this is something new that we've never seen before. We don't know what this child might be capable of. It could lead to our destruction. There's only one way we can deal with this.
Fight.
Could you grab me a tissue, Kirk?
Sure.
And I will tell you about in the books. I don't think this made it to the movies either. But it is described that Edward and Alice will play chess with each other. But when they play chess, they don't move any of the pieces because Edward is reading Alice's mind and Alice is predicting all of the moves.
Sorry, I don't have tissues.
That's fine. And Alice is predicting all of the potential moves that Edward is going to make. And eventually, they just stare at the chessboard and stare at each other, and then one of them will be like, "I win."
I so wish that had been just a tiny scene. Yeah. Now we can talk about the fight. Now that we've talked about Edward and Alice playing literal mind chess with each other.
Yeah. And we've got like all of these crazy powers in this fight because you've got Jane who can just make people be in pain. You've got Alec with his senses disappearing powers.
Yeah.
You've got we've already described a lot of the vampires on the cult.
Rami Malek isn't he?
He creates like a huge
chasm.
It's a huge chasm.
Using his
almost immediately the thing, and this is something that like Kirk was.
Jacob just runs away with Renesmee.
Which is the correct move. Which is the correct move because one, it's correct to keep Renesmee
that was
away
the strategy.
From the vampires.
That's what they told him to do. Like, hey, if a fight breaks out, run and take the kid. Like, that's all he's there for. That's the only reason he gets to come.
But there is, like, a moment, and Kirk was very disappointed when I told him that I already knew this was going to happen. Almost immediately in the fight, Carlisle gets beheaded.
Yeah, well, that's how it starts. Arrow does this, like, flip thing and then lands with Carlisle's head, and that's how the fight starts. It's so cool.
They knew killing Carlisle would hurt the audience so much.
Yeah,
it's so good.
The audience at the time seeing Breaking Dawn,
that doesn't happen in the books.
Anyone who read the books, there's no fight at all in the books. Like vision or otherwise, so people see Carlisle get fucking beheaded, and they're just like, "Did they just kill Carlisle? Is Carlisle
And then the fight just happens, and characters just start getting whooped left and right.
Left and right characters are dying.
I can't remember his name right now. The big guy. Emmett.
I can just-
Emmett. Like I think, like he, like after I think when Rosalie dies, Emmett does like a football tackle and crushes the guy's skull.
I can just imagine the visceral fun of being a book reader and being like, wait, what's happening? Wait, everyone's dying, what the fuck? And then cut back and it's all a vision that Alice is showing Arrow and you're like, oh,
You see, in the movie, like I don't know how the live audience reacted, but that did not feel anticlimactic when that reveal came.
No,
to us.
it was,
I don't think so.
I felt.
I think that honestly, the way that I knew it was coming because I'm watching this movie 10 years late. But I don't think it's anticlimactic at all to have this horrible battle because one, you're seeing so many deaths on both sides.
Yeah.
That it's I don't wish that fight happened.
Yeah.
I don't wish that fight actually happened, and I also think
I don't think a single even Bella at the end is getting swarmed by vampires as she's setting fire to Aro's head.
Well, I think one of the interesting things about the fight is that the Cullens don't necessarily win. It's just that they managed to kill Aro.
Yeah.
They also kill the other Volturi leader who goes, finally, right before he dies. That's so funny.
I fucking love that
The one
guy.
where we were
It's
joking
pretty
about
good.
being looking dead inside the whole
He was
movie.
ready to die.
Yeah.
But so I think it's really I think it's kind of satisfying in that way that it's it's not necessarily that the Cullens were going to win, but Aro doesn't
It's
care.
that this was going to be a bloodbath and Aro doesn't want.
And he doesn't want to die.
He's a political villain.
And then,
so he's
and it's also fun because then Aro has to try to talk
He has to then
down
talk
his
down
side
his own
that he just spent 5 minutes
talking up.
talking
He
up.
spent 6 months riling up.
Yeah,
He
seriously.
spent 6 months being we're gonna go kill the Cullens. We're finally taking out Carlisle. He's been a thorn in our side forever.
Yeah.
And now he has to be okay,
don't fight them.
Consider peace.
I also think I was telling this to Kirk because in the book, I know I keep saying in the book, but once again, that's why I'm here. So in the book, there Alice doesn't give Arrow a vision. That's not what happens. It's literally just Alice brings out the other half human.
That would have been.
No, for real. Alice brings him out, and she's like, "Look, it's fine." And then Arrow's like, darn it, next time, and leaves. That's basically all that happens.
Actually one of the best book to movie adaptation changes I think I've ever heard. Not just in Twilight, just in general.
Because obviously in the book that is so anticlimactic that it's literally just we don't have to fight, we don't even really have to talk. I just brought you an example that it's fine and now you're gonna leave. And
whereas in the movie the example is almost more of an afterthought. It's not even used to talk down Aro, it's used to talk down the other
It's used it's almost used as a justification for Aro to talk down his guy.
And it's also in the book, because of the way that ends, it doesn't actually feel like they've reached any sort of conclusion with the Volturi.
No.
It just feels like Aro was darn it, next time, I'll get you next time.
Which there's still an element of a next time there.
You get to be here for next exorcism.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay, but in the because Aro's seeing this vision of them being if we come to blows, we are fairly even footing and there's going to be a lot of deaths on both sides.
Especially mine.
It does give you as the viewer this feeling of okay, maybe everything with the Volturi's not resolved, but the Volturi's going to think twice before they ever take the Cullens on it.
Yes, exactly. And considering how long considering how long vampires they're all just immortal superheroes. The whole gimmick of superheroes is that the conflict is never over.
Yeah.
So at some point they will fight again. It just probably won't be for hundreds of years.
At the very, very, very least, they probably bought them 100 years, 100 years apiece or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, at least 100 years apiece. So I really like the way the whole final battle and the resolution played out in the movie.
Say what you will about the Twilight franchise, it doesn't skimp on the conclusion. It ends very strong. It ends very well.
Yeah.
I have zero and the movies end better than the books do, which is cool.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Ignoring everything that you should have a complaint about Twilight about, I have no complaints about Breaking Dawn.
About Breaking Dawn Part 2.
About Breaking Dawn.
Breaking Dawn Part 1 is just boring.
This is a really like, I'm really glad that Lauren talked us into doing this, and then I convinced you to come with.
And I'm glad that we talked two people with two different perspectives into it, and that we watched them all in one sitting to get the full.
But
even if you didn't watch them all in one.
But
sitting,
something has to be exercised, and unfortunately, I think as the hosts of the Fear podcast, we feel
it's either Eclipse or Breaking Dawn Part 1, and I don't know which one to pick.
I would be more willing to. I think Story has made enough of an argument that I think we should exercise Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes, base.
What are you doing?
I'm vlogging. No, I'm just. He's getting this. Okay, he's got a sword in here, so we don't have to.
I did not realize this was a thing you did.
The Exorcism.
Do you not watch our podcast?
No, I don't.
Busted. Uh-oh.
Wait. Let's try to get Lauren on call.
You can get her on Discord if you want. I'm using this to record the Exorcism.
You know what? I'm just glad that I managed to convince you in some saving grace for Eclipse.
See, Lauren also tried to do an argument in favor of Eclipse, but hers wasn't as strong because she didn't have as much book knowledge. Book perspective.
Once again,
not book knowledge because she's read the book, but book perspective.
Well, I read the books.
Because like when
she,
I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to be rude to Lauren's argument, but when she was describing us to it, it almost felt like her trying to justify why the movie wasn't good, as opposed to explaining why the book didn't translate well.
Also, the short and terrible life of Bree. What's her face?
Oh, the little vampire child girl?
Stephanie Meyer wrote a book from her perspective. About her life in the
Lauren
vampire
told
army.
us about that. What a weird,
Poor sweet thing. This child just gets recruited into a vampire army and then
Is she
fucking
online?
dies.
She's online. She hasn't gotten on call yet.
Okay. I just don't want to wait around too long.
Yeah. I'll give her a minute.
Okay. So yeah, the Twilight video is over. This.
Oh, wait, here she is.
Oh, she's
Lauren!
here. Exorcism time.
Exorcism time. Okay.
Hi, Lauren!
Here, Story, you hold the phone.
Okay.
Oh my god, I'm holding one phone, you're holding another phone.
Breaking Dawn, Part 1. You have cursed this world with imprinting, with horror babies,
Technically, Eclipse
with werewolves,
new moon introduced.
With telepathic werewolves shouting at each other like they're fucking ringers. You are a boring, tired abomination.
That only exists as a precursor to the fun movie.
What do you have to say for yourself before I strike ye down? Like, fuck.
You imprinted on my daughter!
It wasn't my choice to avast ye! Fear!
I really do think the ideal version of these movies...
Guys, say fear.
Fear. I think the ideal version, the ideal series to me would be Eclipse and Breaking Dawn Part 1's events combined into one movie. And like...
Or we just don't need Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Or we just delete
Yeah,
them.
just do a supercut of the fucked up baby scenes.
Yeah.
And then
Baby
cut
Baby
to part 2.
supercut. Fear.
I think that
Fear!
Breaking Dawn Part 1, but only the fear parts. Fear. Why does that
Why are
actually
you
feel
still
like
not
a video I
ending?
should make? Okay, bye.
I've been trying